And for mum and dad, see they didn't forget. Have a great day. If you're out and about today, Thursday it is, be safe on the roads, and we're going to pass you over to Greg Hughes. Good morning, Greg.
Lee, good morning to you, and thanks again for a great show. Back with you tomorrow morning. It's 9 o'clock on the 9 till noon show. Let's get a news update and say good morning to Emma Ryan.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Garda Commissioner has confirmed the Gardaí are continuing to liaise with the coroner in a bid to reach a conclusion in the investigation into the Creaslough tragedy. 10 people died following the explosion at a shop in October last. In the aftermath, the scene remained closed for a number of weeks as Gardaí and other experts from overseas gathered evidence. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris says while the outcome is uncertain, they are hopeful they will come to a satisfactory conclusion.
Together with the experts who are working on this, we would hopefully get to a satisfactory conclusion as to the cause of this. But that'll be part of the investigation then that we would support in terms of the investigation into the coroner. So we have a responsibility in terms of the coroner and the information that we would gain through investigation and reporting it to the coroner. Ultimately, we would hopefully we'd get to some final explanation as to what happened, and that's what we're working towards, obviously.
The Sinn Féin leader says there is now finally a sense of movement towards the restoration of power-sharing government in the north. Taoiseach Micheál Martin and Northern Ireland Secretary Christy Dignam are among the delegation attending a key meeting of the British-Irish Intergovernmental Conference today. There has been no government at Stormont since last May's Assembly election as the DUP demanded changes to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Mary Lou MacDonald says she believes a deal can and will be done soon. The Housing Minister has been pressed once again to provide support to defective block homeowners who are under pressure to keep up with mortgage repayments. Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle has told the Dáil that homeowners are under severe pressure from banks in relation to worthless homes that they have mortgages out against. Minister Darragh O'Brien did not make a commitment that action would be taken, but says discussions are ongoing.
The issue with regard to banking and how mortgage lenders are dealing with some homeowners is an issue that's been raised with me, which we'll continue to address with the banks also, and I'll address this directly with residents. I'm pleased to see, I'll ask Count Corla as well, that we're seeing applications, particularly in Donegal and Mayo, being processed through the system now, being processed effectively and efficiently. We have a lot more to do in that space, but all of those homeowners will receive the benefit of the revised scheme, the revised 100% redress scheme, and I'll keep the Deputy informed of our engagement with regard to the banks on the mortgage issues.
And finally, barring a political mishap, the next general election will be in autumn of next year. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has indicated to his Fine Gael colleagues he wouldn't like to see a winter election. Instead, it looks as though people could be going to the polls in autumn of 2024. And a look at today's weather. Wintry showers will clear throughout the morning. Mostly dry weather will follow for the rest of the day with some sunny spells. Cold day with highest temperatures of just 1 to 4 degrees. That's all for now. Our next news update will be at 10 o'clock, but until then, good morning.
Inflation pushes up building costs, so it's important to review your home insurance cover to make sure you have the right cover for your needs. Underinsurance happens where there's a difference between the value of your cover and the cost of repairing damage or replacing contents. It's a risk you can avoid. Review your home insurance policy regularly. For more, visit understandinginsurance.ie/underinsurance. Brought to you by Insurance Ireland.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 4 minutes just turned 5 minutes past 9 on another wintry morning across the Northwest. It is Thursday, the 19th of January 2023. I do hope you are well, and of course you're very welcome along to the show. Hopefully it will keep you informed and entertained. throughout the next 3 hours on the programme and throughout the day here on your number one local radio station. The lines are open for you right now. Another snow day for a lot of young ones out there, not so young ones too, perhaps. Thanks to Lee for keeping us updated with all the school closures, all the postponements and what's happening on the roads. It's really appreciated. Any further information to pass on, the numbers 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000, or send your comments to email comments@highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch this show, why would you be watching This Morning or whatever nonsense is on the TV when you can watch your own show here dedicated to the northwest of Ireland? Go onto your smart TV or your Fire Stick and open up the YouTube app, stick in Highland Radio Ireland, watch us up on your big screen. Same applies for Facebook Watch. Just search Highland Radio. You can watch us there on your tablet or mobile as well. And you can also watch on our website in browser, highlandradio.com. And lots of emerging news over the last couple of days. We're going to keep you right across that. All right, let's start with a look at the newspapers today. The Tyrconnell Tribune. The Fianna Fáil party in Donegal has been requested to select and identify the local election candidates before the end of this week. The request has come from Party HQ in Dublin, and it's seen as trying to awaken grassroots interests amongst the membership. A scheduled meeting was already postponed, with party sources telling the Tribune the meeting is due to be held this Friday night. With the party holding the biggest number of councillors in Lifford, they will want to start oiling the wheels once again to retain their 12 seats. It's not clear yet if all their outgoing members will run in 2023, and it's also unclear if any exciting new heartthrobs, as they're described here, will want to put their heads above the parapet this early in the new year. Interesting times. The Donegal News. We want answers. Defective block homeowners in Donegal are demanding answers after government announced a 100% redress scheme for apartments affected by construction defects, which is expected to cost up to 2.5 billion. The announcement has left homeowners concerned that those who are suffering in defective concrete houses are being deprioritised and questioning why they're being left in limbo. And as you heard from the Housing Minister there in response to, if you were listening to the news, in response to Thomas Pringle, he believes, everything's going rightly in Donegal and Mayo. Things are flying. And this new scheme, you described the new scheme, the new enhanced scheme, as working well. I didn't think the new enhanced scheme was up and running yet. But anyway, obviously, we're going to have some reaction to this story. I do note that no one's talking about the taxpayer having to foot this bill and the poor taxpayer. It's just €2.5 billion. Worst of all. And by the way, can I just say very clearly, I'm very pleased for these people, these homeowners. I have no issue with whatever I pay into the system supporting them. Unfortunately, we didn't see the same grace from some parts of the country when we were discussing Micah. But I do note that I haven't really heard politicians pointing out the fact that they have to be really careful with this scheme because this is taxpayers' money, That type of rhetoric was reserved for us here in Donegal and other affected counties. Obviously, we've got two people in government in this county, Minister Charlie McConnell, Deputy Joe McHugh. We have made contact with them with a view to having a conversation with them today to see what they think of this decision. I'll let you know later on the status of the responses to those invitations. But we're going to be talking to people affected by defective concrete blocks, defective concrete products here in Donegal a little later on to see what they... I don't think anyone begrudges these other homeowners their 100% redress scheme, but my word, the difference with how that has been announced versus the drag to the table, kicking and screaming, and what they left on the table for Donegal, it's night and day. Donegal Democrat Hospital protest planned for Saturday. I'm very interested still to see what kind of a turnout will be at this protest. The weather looks like clearing for Saturday, by the way. But overcrowding at Letterkenny University Hospital's emergency department has reached crisis levels, and unless something is done to address it, Donegal lives will be lost. Look, they may well have already been lost. That's the stock prediction from one I added on the may well have already been lost, by the way. I don't want to attribute a quote to someone that they didn't make, but I can't see how it hasn't happened. Anyway, that's the stock prediction from one of the organisers of this Saturday's Day of Action protest at the facility. The chairperson of the Letterkenny Hospital campaign, Mary T. Sweeney. The Letterkenny woman is calling for people power at the event, which starts on Saturday at... Sorry, my chair's collapsed here. On Saturday at 1 p.m. We'll be talking about that, I'm sure, before the end of the week. The Dairy News, customers urged to use cash. The owner of a small business in the city has asked customers to pay by cash where possible in future. David Dunn, owner of the iconic fish and chip shop Brendan's on Spencer Road, said the charges he was facing from card machines and app operators had become an unaffordable expense for small business with a small team of staff. David, who runs the Chippy and adjoining cafe with his wife Catherine, daughter of the eponymous Brendan, said they had always tried to keep their prices as low as they possibly could for their customers. Speaking to the paper, he said, our aim was always to look after our customers, have a viable business and look after our staff. But the way the situation has transformed since COVID, it's just crazy. He says, please, where you can, use cash. And then you have some businesses very keen for the customers to use cash, many customers very keen to use cash, and then you've got other businesses that refuse cash. It's a funny old world, isn't it? The Irish Independent, a bit of coverage today on Paschal Donohoe, the under fire minister. He didn't take questions last night, which I thought was really quite interesting. Paschal Donohoe has revealed he personally sold 2020 and 2021 Fine Gael raffle tickets to businessman Michael Stone. The 5 Super Draw tickets sold in 2020 amounted to a donation of €334, while in 2021, Mr. Stone bought 22 tickets to a donation value of €1,382, Mr. Donohoe revealed. The Public Expenditure Minister gave a short statement in the Dáil yesterday evening over his failure to declare expenses for hanging election posters. Over the weekend, it emerged that Mr. Donohoe had not declared a payment made by Mr. Stone to 6 people to hang up election posters ahead of the 2016 general election. Now, I think it was Peadar Tóibín that called for an audit of submissions from elected representatives to make sure that everything that should have been declared was declared. The government rejected that. And then, quite interesting, listening to Eamon Ryan this morning, he was being questioned and he was asked as to, why more conversation is not happening in the Dáil, right? And his argument is that that's the role of SIPO. And why would you do it in the Dáil when that's what SIPO is there for? But he also said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he effectively said that it would take up too much time because so many members would have questions to answer. Now, it's not an exact quote, but that's effectively what he said. Not a great indictment of the political system, is it, when you have one of the leaders of the government suggesting that discussing claims in the Dáil, because it could affect so many people, would take up too much time. That's a problem. I think that's a problem. All right, the Irish Times. A plan to install thousands of electric vehicle charging points around the country will place more pressure than ever on the electricity grid. The government has been warned. Minister for the Environment, Eamon Ryan, will today announce a €100 million strategy that aims for charging points to be placed at 60-kilometre intervals along motorways and taxi ranks, tourist office, hospitals, hotels and sports clubs. There are also plans for the charging system to serve apartment blocks and neighbourhoods. Now, again, I don't wish to be cynical, but I have to be honest, on this programme, between the ESB and the government, we seem to have talked about multiple announcements of improvements to the EV charging infrastructure. If you're a regular listener, you know we have. The ESB have been on. We're investing this, that and thon. The government have made various announcements. I might catalogue them just to see what kind of announcements has been made. Yet, people contacting this programme say that the infrastructure is poor. It's not, in fact, it's not that it's improving. In fact, to some extent, some would say it's getting worse because it can be unreliable as to whether charging points are available or not. And that's a shame because there's a huge interest in the public in EV cars, hybrid cars. We can get into that whole debate another time about whether or not we should be or not. But that's the facts. The statistics don't lie. But we had a town like Argos, for example. I'm not sure if the situation has been resolved there yet, that despite all the various announcements, it doesn't have one single charging point. If anyone's listening in Argos and if that's changed, please let me know. But anyway, this strategy to be announced today states the number of charging points could increase from 1,700 to between 2,540 and 4,850 within 3 years as a result of the significant number of additional charging points being contemplated. It warns that the widespread use of electric vehicles will place more pressure than ever on Ireland's electricity network, which is worrying because the government was warned that it needed to very much improve the infrastructure in this country, particularly with the welcoming nature we have towards data centres, which are very power intensive. But very little was done to improve, even with warning, very little was done to improve the infrastructure. All right, on to the Irish Daily Mail now. If you're a second-hand car owner, it's continuing to go up in value. The value of second-hand cars has increased substantially thanks to the effects of the pandemic and a scarcity of new vehicles. The impact of COVID and a shortage of microchips has severely restricted the supply of new cars and upended the market, I read. This has led to the number of second-hand cars for sale drying up, meaning that they have been rising in value. Someone who bought a used car for $5,000 before the pandemic would now be able to sell it for up to $8,500 with 2 years depreciation. It should really be worth around $3,000. Prices are almost 70% higher now compared to the pandemic onset in February 2020. Compared to this time last year, prices have increased by more than 16. Now, it depends on which car you have too. I think the lower value cars have increased in value to a greater extent than the higher value cars, but it's nice, is it, if you've a loan out, to think that maybe your car is not depreciating as quickly as your loan is. The Irish Farmers Journal: Ireland's beef trade is poised for further increases in demand, or as demand exceeds supply. Some processors have indicated a 50 to 20 cent a kilogram bonus for China-eligible cattle when processing begins later this month. Average prices for R3 bullocks have already increased by 54 cent a kilogram in 8 weeks. Which is good news, I presume. Okay, more in that Farmers Journal, hugely popular paper, it has to be said. Right, on to the Irish Daily Star. RTE have the begging bowl out again. It's looking for reform of the TV licence system because it is not working, a Dáil committee heard. And the action said that the station said that there isn't a sustainable future for RTE unless the public funding model is overhauled. The committee also heard last evening that the controversial toy show musical that failed to sell all its tickets and was slammed in many quarters will return next winter. The national broadcaster is losing money every year as people move away from watching TV in the traditional way as they ditch televisions and embrace streaming services in droves. RTE said that 16.5% of households in Ireland are now no TV homes, which is an increase from 3% just 5 years ago. Are you a no TV home? Tell us why. Did you used to have a TV and did you get rid of the TV and how did it change your life? And when I say no TV, what I mean, I'm not sure what they mean, is that you don't watch any TV anymore. Let us know, 086 60 25,000. But I think, if RTE want the licence fee to be reformed, they need to reform themselves. They need to stop paying people €700,000 a year for doing 1 hour here and 2 hours there. Why come back to us looking for more money? Show us how you're spending the money. I mean, they spent a fortune on launching the autumn TV schedule. Hundreds and €80,000, wasn't it? €80,000. That's an awful lot of licence fees, isn't it? And then they've got this musical. It's the hobby horse of someone there. Why do it? There's no need for it. There's no need for it. Now, I know there was some local people involved in it, and that's great, but there's no need for RTE to be running a musical. It didn't sell out this year. So why continue? They had to cancel shows for other reasons as well. So why continue with it? That's spending. The orchestra, why is that still being funded the way it is? Come up with a different funding model. The likes of News Talk, Virgin Media, other independent stations, us here. Just to remind you, we get no licence fee money. When I say no, there is some funds that come through for documentaries and stuff on a small level. It's nothing like what RTE get from it. But just to be absolutely transparent, there's no regular payment or no support. It's all done. The business model in this station, like others, I presume, is it's advertising based and your costs. You have to keep your costs down, and that's how you try and continue. But RTE don't want to do that. They just want more money from the public to keep going, which I don't think is terribly fair. And I would be saying that if I wasn't working here. So I'm not speaking on behalf of Highland Radio. It just seems wrong. On to the Irish Daily Mirror. What am I reading? Here it is. RTE star Emer O'Neill has revealed Tommy Tiernan apologised to her and removed a joke from his set. Last week, the Bray native told us, that's the paper, she walked out of the comedian's Vicar Street gig in Dublin last Friday week after becoming upset over a joke he told about taxi drivers After publicising her upset, Emer has now revealed to the paper that Tommy has apologised to her for the hurt caused. The Navan native wrote her an email saying, "Dear Emer, I'm sorry about the hurt that a joke I told at Vicar Street on Friday night has caused you." He says it was never his intention as he removed it from his set. All right. And finally, as we know, the legend that is Christy Dignam, he is currently in palliative care and has spoken to his fans and the general public via his daughter. Christy Dignam's daughter says support from Aslan Legend's legions of fans has given her ailing dad a much-needed boost. Dignam's daughter, Ciara, has broken her silence following her father's recent devastating health update. Rock legend Christy has been battling amyloidosis, a rare blood disorder, since 2013. Earlier this week, the Crazy World singer's family shared a heartbreaking update revealing he's getting palliative care at home. Well, Ciara has now said that the supportive response from fans has given Christy a boost. She said on social media, "My dad just asked me to thank everyone for their support, well wishes and kind words over the last couple of days." All right, okay, so 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a buzz on 07491 25,000. Right, back after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rate switcher loans.
Care is not a women's issue. Care is an everybody issue. We're all going to face care responsibilities from cradle to grave. We need to accept that, and we need to support that by having systems and structures in place for people, rather than relying on the fact that women are going to do it just because.
Learn more about care and gender inequality in Ireland at ihrec.ie. From the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission. We're all human, we're all equal.
Factory beef prices set to rocket. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Chinese bonuses, tighter supplies and soaring demand are pushing beef prices skywards. Angry suckler farmers have their say in exit schemes. Farmyard thefts off the Richter scale, we investigate. Quilcha and Gresham House tell us about their land purchase tactics. The latest land leasing prices. Plus our special on calving cameras, milk replacers and calf feeders.
And don't miss our CAO and college guide inside this week's Irish Country Living. You cannot afford to miss it.
House to Home Interiors, Bridge End, Donegal. Massive January sale now on. Open recliner suites starting from an incredible $1,299, or get a McQuaid Irish made suite at a great price. Call in and see our new flooring section. Carpets, wooden floors, dining and slide rooms. House to Home Interiors, Bridge End, Donegal. Massive January sale now on.
At ESB Networks, we're connecting Ireland to a clean electric future. And as part of the National Smart Metering Programme, we're now installing smart electricity meters in your area. Your new smart meter will reduce the need for estimated bills, help you to manage your electricity usage more efficiently, and enable you to access smart electricity products and services. We'll contact you before your meter is installed. Find out more at esbnetworks.ie/smartmeter.
Hike or bike the Camino de Santiago to raise vital funds for Irish Community Air Ambulance. Explore this iconic trail for 1 week from April 23rd and help us grow and improve our emergency medic responder service in County Donegal. You may never need the service yourself, but your support could help make sure it's there for others. Sign up today and find out more by visiting communityairambuLance.ie/Camino. Thank you.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
All right, just a couple of updates from out on the roads. Creasla Day Centre will remain closed today. I've been asked to mention to you. Caller says the hill up to St Eunice College from Tin Thai restaurants in a bad way this morning with cars sliding back down the road. And Letterkenny Rovers Bingo in the Station House Hotel is cancelled this evening due to the weather. Right, we had a text in from a caller, and as we always try and get answers as best we can, and it read as follows. Hi Greg, can I ask if anyone knows anything about cross-border workers living in the south and working in the north, and issues around working remotely? Workers will no longer be able to work from home for more than 30 days a year because of tax implications. Could you raise this on your show to see if there is anyone who could shed some light on this issue and possibly get a workaround? So we reached out to Conor Dowds, former co-chair of the Cross Border Workers Coalition. Former, isn't that correct? Conor, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Yeah, that's correct. I was co-chair of the Cross-Border Workers Coalition while we had that up and running.
No problem. Just to make sure I didn't introduce you incorrectly. Right. So, what is the problem that this listener's highlighting there, Conor?
Yeah. So maybe, Greg, what I can do is, well, first of all, I'm not a tax expert for sure. So as it gets to any of the specifics of it, I definitely would recommend people reach out to some of the tax consultants and experts that are out there for specific advice and so forth. But I'll give a little bit of history and then take it through to what the situation looks like today. So historically, there's a tax agreement between Ireland and the UK. And what that means is, if you live in Ireland but work in the UK, your employment is residing there, you don't pay full double tax on your income in both jurisdictions. And that was introduced maybe 20 or so years ago. And also there's a criteria set out which allows you to claim something called trans-border workers relief. So someone in my position who lives in Donegal, works in Northern Ireland, can claim this relief. And what it says is, if I'm employed in the UK, living in the Republic of Ireland, I can claim this relief and essentially avoid paying additional tax within the Republic of Ireland. Just pay your tax in the UK and you're covered. During the COVID-19 pandemic, there was an allowance made because obviously people were told, don't go to the office, stay and work from home if you can. And that relief existed during the core period of the COVID-19 pandemic, but has since been dropped. The key restriction with that relief, which is a great relief and improved things greatly, from where it was 20 years ago, is all of your work, 100% of that work, must be performed outside the state. And what that means is you really can't perform any work from within the Republic of Ireland. And if you do, then you incur these tax liabilities. Now, your texter mentioned a 30-day period. Again, this is where individuals should reach out to a personal tax consultant to get specific advice on their scenario, because there's many layers to this. There's a lot of legs that it grows once your scenario or your situation changes. So 30 days may be something that this person has been advised, but essentially, if you're living in the Republic of Ireland, performing work for a UK company or based in the UK, you generally have a tax liability unless you claim this trans-border workers relief. And then that stipulation kicks in that 100% of that work must be performed outside of the state of the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, I don't think maybe the text kind of understands the modern way of working, though, because whilst you might be located in the Republic, your productivity, your output is in Britain or Northern Ireland. So, it sounds like we're trying to use old wording to apply to a new situation.
It's possible. And again, the meaning and the impact of it really is very different depending on the nature of your work. So, for example, I work in the technology sector, so a lot of my work is done on a computer. A lot of my work is done remotely, if you will. So that sort of industry is quite suited to people working remotely, or the work not actually taking place, if you will, in the Republic of Ireland if I were working from home. Other people, depending on the nature of the job, may physically need to be in an office or in a factory or in a location in the UK, and then it's not really a question for them. But there are other people who may be employed in Northern Ireland companies or in England, and the work they perform might physically require them to be in the Republic of Ireland to perform that work. So it does put them in a much more difficult
I presume what you're talking about there is maybe, say, someone who works for a blinds fitting company in Derry, and they do a lot of work fitting blinds in the Republic, and they live in the Republic. Although they're working in Derry, a lot of the work is on the ground in the Republic where they live. Is that?
That's a really good example. I mean, anything that requires that physical presence.
Don't know why I thought of a blind company, but anyway, it could be anything.
It's a good example. As the sun shines through my window for the first time in a couple of days, the blinds are something definitely front of mind. But it's a great example of how it can impact people. And what we found was, really, when the COVID-19 pandemic occurred, this started to raise questions. A lot of people started to ask about it, and the nature of how companies work, particularly those companies where you can work remotely, where previously that wasn't the case or the culture. This question arose more and more, and we created the Cross-Border Workers Coalition because our own company had a challenge with this, and many other companies we spoke to had a challenge, and a lot of individuals really were confused about what they could and could not do, and it is quite confusing. So we ran a campaign for almost 2 years, successful in some quarters in terms of the buy-in and general support we got from many companies, individuals, political representatives from across the spectrum. But when we got as far as the Department of Finance, they did review it. They did produce a paper as part of the 2021 tax bill. But really, the disappointing thing was I don't think they took the time to fully understand the impact for people who live and work around the border regions in particular. And they really found a way not to change anything and keep the status quo, as opposed to, in my opinion, looking for an opportunity to change it. And there's a couple of really good examples where this disadvantages people. So the company I work for would have people who work on call. So if I apply for a job, part of that job might mean I need to be on call overnight. But if I live in Donegal, I technically can't perform on-call duties unless I get in my car and drive to Derry or wherever the office happens to be located. So it does disadvantage people in terms of, applying for employment, getting that employment. And then if I'm a company based around the border, talent's a limited resource. So what you want to be able to do is pull from as much talent as possible, even attract people back from Dublin, London, other places to the locality. And this is it's an obstacle that gets created.
So, I mean, obviously, the number one piece of advice is speak to a tax consultant, but let's just hypothesize. So this person who's living in the south, working in the north, and has issues around working remotely, what is the penalty for them? Like, are they being expected to pay full tax on their income in both north and south? Like, how are they being disadvantaged at this time that they would feel they need to text us?
Yeah, at a very high level, probably the main thing is they're confused, because everyone we spoke to in this topic was confused, and it's very hard to get a specific answer and be comfortable with where you sit. But the advice I would give them, as you say, talk to a tax consultant who's an expert. But the other thing is, you're not being required to pay 100% double tax in two jurisdictions. You don't pay your tax in the UK and then start from scratch in the Republic. What the taxation agreement, the double taxation agreement, does is it says, okay, we have an agreement with the UK. You've paid a lot of tax there. Now let's look at what you paid there. Look at what you would have paid here in the Republic. They do a comparison, and you may end up paying a differential or additional tax. And that tax can be based on many things, such as your income, but also the number of days that you perform work within the Republic of Ireland. So that's where it starts to get a little convoluted and have multiple layers.
Are there any advantages in terms of maybe down the line being able to draw a pension in both jurisdictions, or is there any advantages to someone living in the Republic and working in the north?
There isn't, and many people do take advantage of that. So, for example, I know in the UK at the moment there's an amnesty for people who, if you performed either 3 or 5 years work in the UK consecutively, you can even, if you haven't made the 10-year mark, you can retrospectively pay sums of money towards that to bring you to 10 years, and then you're entitled to a UK pension from retirement age. And if you're somebody who's worked both north and south, for example, in Ireland, then you may be entitled to pensions in both jurisdictions. So again, there are advantages to it. The number of years of working in each jurisdiction, the consecutive years, a number of other factors come into play. But as like many things, there are some advantages to it. It's just with this cross-border workers piece, we found modern day working, there's a very, very restrictive criteria in that trans-borders worker relief that says basically if you want to avoid paying tax in both jurisdictions, you have to perform all of that work in the UK. And Greg, we found talking to groups such as the Derry, Letterkenny Digital Corridor, I know there's a number of initiatives cross-border on the medical fields. It makes those organisations very difficult to function, because you're going to naturally have people from both sides of the border needing to go to both places to make that happen. And again, what you don't want is people worrying about what are the tax implications if I join this organisation and try and create that benefit for all. So the impacts are sort of varied and many.
All right, okay. It's complicated. I can understand why it's hard to get the message across, and I can also understand how it's difficult maybe to get someone in Dublin to sort of grab this by the horns and come up with an absolute resolution, because it's a problem far, far away. And I think if you were sitting in a bar with someone who's living in Dublin and started explaining what you're explaining about how we have to live our lives up here, they'd be going, what? But really? What? I thought Donegal was in the north anyway, or something like that. You know what I mean? All right, listen, thanks for that, Conor. I'm not sure I know any more, but I hope people that's right, because it is complicated and it's not your fault, because you explained it very well. But I think people who are in that situation, it'll resonate with them very well. So thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, take care of yourself. Conor Dowds there, who was the co-chair of the Cross-Border Workers Coalition. So hopefully that to some extent has helped that listener. Hi, Greg. Our own traffic lights at McGinley Motors. Another accident waiting to happen. Cars turning up Justice Walsh Road while on red, going on green for straight, and they turn up on red. It's also slowing traffic down. Learn to use traffic lights, folks, says that motorists. Let me see. Hi, Greg. I may have missed it, but was there ever any determination of what caused the horrific Creasler tragedy? No, it's obviously a very, very complex multi-agency international investigation. And we heard, coincidentally, from Drew Harris there in the bulletin. He expects a satisfactory, I think that's the words he used, outcome to it. The answers will be delivered, but they are going to take their time. And I don't think anyone, well, I can't speak for anyone, but I'm guessing that no one wants it rushed because it's going to be incredibly important. Why are there no parking signs at the pedestrian crossing in Buncrana? It's not uncommon for school children to come onto the road from behind a lorry, and it is a crash waiting to happen. Also, there are no loading bays for lorries on the main street, and that was a follow-on from our conversation about the traffic in Ballybofey. And we got so many messages that I simply could not read them out. But let me just tell you, the overwhelming majority of people believe that the traffic crossings, particularly the Bank 1 in Ballybofey, needs to be looked at. But we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments on that. A caller says the potholing convoy was filled, but it seemed to be a patch job and had started to open up again within a few days. The council do fill potholes, but the quality of repair work never seems to be enough to last for very long. Hi, Greg. There's an unreal bad pothole on the way up to Glenealy School. It would affect the cars coming down from school. Then on the way to Ballybofey on the back road, people will definitely damage their cars. And another one here before a break. I was driving this morning and I cleared the snow from the windows before I set out to work, but not the roof. Driving along the road, the snow fell off the roof down on top of the front window screen. Not only did it give me a fright, but it could have put me off the road. Lesson learned, clear the entire car before you set out in the morning. Probably not bad advice.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in the community. Keeping up to date with your recommended vaccines will make sure you have the best possible protection from serious illness. And everyone aged 18 to 49 can now get a second COVID-19 booster vaccine from a HSC vaccination centre or a participating GP or pharmacy. See what vaccines are recommended for you on hsc.ie or call our team in HSC Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSC.
See the great new collection of Aqua Clean suites now at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. Aqua Clean is a unique fabric treatment that allows you to clean stains using only water, and these Irish-made suites can be made to measure. Also see McGinley's huge range of corner groups, recliners and leather suites. Transform your house into the home of your dreams at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny, and at mcginleysfurniture.com.
New me, new Kia. Life's too short, so spoil yourself. Go on, you're worth it. With certain Kia models available for immediate delivery, don't let your neighbour outshine you. Call in today to find out why the Kia range is unbeatable. With finance offers starting from 2.9%, it's an easy decision to start your 2023 on a good note. Visit imotors.ie or visit us in Malin or Letterkenny.
The massive January sale is now on at Patterson's Kitchens, the Hall Lifford. Massive savings on kitchens, beds, sofas, dining sets and giftware with up to 50% off selected mattresses. Hundreds of products in stock and ready for delivery or collection. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Get yourself down to Patterson's massive January sale.
Not to be missed, ABBA Sensations comes live to Ancoach Hotel Gidor on January the 27th and the Villa Rose Hotel Ballybofey on January the 28th. Tickets €20, available online at Eventbrite or from hotel reception.
Right, so we heard the government has announced a multi-million euro scheme to repair Celtic Tiger era apartments after it was revealed that thousands across the state were not built to standard. The Cabinet has agreed to draft legislation to support the remediation of apartments and duplexes with fire safety, structural safety and water ingress defects. A working group report published in July found up to 100,000 apartments and duplexes built between 1991 and 2013 were defective, with fire safety being the most prevalent issue. The scheme is estimated to be worth up to 2.5 million, and it's expected that it'll cost around 25 to 30,000 euro, I think, to fix each apartment. But it's been made very simple. People aren't going to have to do it individually. It's going to be a whole building approach. They're fixing problems really before anyone can identify them. And if you've begun work or you've done work, it looks like you will also get payment for that retrospective. sounds nothing like the defective concrete scheme, does it? Anne Owens joins us now. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, I mean, the first line here is the Dublin scheme is a disgrace. It's a disgrace in the context of what we're going to talk about. It's fantastic if you're affected by this. It's a bells and whistles scheme. But when you look at it compared to what was offered to homeowners in Donegal and elsewhere, it's insult to injury, isn't it? We don't begrudge these people. I'm delighted, but it's insult to injury.
Absolutely. As campaigners, we totally welcome this announcement. We're delighted for the people in duplexes. But I would temper that by saying that what we do not welcome is the difference in the way that we've been treated. So, Mica homeowners need and deserve what I call #parity with the pale. There's nothing short of blatant discrimination in how they have been treated and how we have been treated. And as I say, best of luck to them. We're fully behind them. But I mean, the decision to, give them 100% of those apartment owners and duplexes, it's simply discriminatory, it's unfair, it's lacking in natural justice. And I mean, if you'd allow me just a few minutes, Greg, to go through a comparison of why we are, as campaigners, very upset about this announcement. So the people in Dublin in the duplexes will be getting 100% redress. There's no cap. They will not be tied to the 2007 regulations. All affected can apply on a complex-by-complex basis. Retrospective payment will be permitted. So if you've already fixed your home to a standard that's acceptable, you can recoup everything that you've spent. An office is to be made available to them specifically as a headquarters to provide advice, assistance and support. No campaign was required, no campaign, and the scheme will be based on primary legislation. Let me compare that with what we have had in Donegal. First, we're in the 12th year of our campaign, and that protracted campaign, I cannot underestimate the effect that this campaign has had on the mental and the physical health of our homeowners and indeed our campaigners. We are left now with a flawed scheme on flawed houses, caused, as you know, Greg, and everybody listening to this will know, caused by soft touch regulation and nothing short of gross negligence at a local and national government level. We're left with a foundation issue. The government actually expect us to build without looking at our foundations. We all know about that. What a lot of people don't know about, and it's something that I've been trying to bring up at all levels, and that is the legal and technical issues of repairing and rebuilding semi-detached and terraced homes. I don't know if you will have heard this on your programme so far, but anybody in a semi-detached house or a terraced house, for example, Greg, in order to demolish their house or repair it, will need indemnification from their adjoining neighbour. Now, what neighbour in a rotten Mica house is going to give that indemnification? Because there's a very good chance where the woodworm are holding hands, the Mica woodworm I refer to, that if one house is demolished, that the other house will fall or be
Oh, for sure. And listen, there are some, and we have discussed that over the years, Anne. I mean, there's complications if one were council-owned, one was privately owned. Maybe one person wanted on the scheme, the other person didn't want on the scheme. Maybe wanted the resources to go on the scheme. The other could be an older couple who don't have the cash to make up the shortfall. I mean, the problems there are evident. It's like they took a submission as to what would be a good scheme for Donegal, what we were looking for up here, and without a campaign, they said, well, look at these ones in Donegal have given us all the things a good scheme must have. So lots of the stuff that was refused for the people of Donegal, it's almost like it's been copy and pasted into what seems like a really good scheme for the people of Dublin. And let me ask you, put something else to you as well. And unfortunately, by the way, I just want to say, Charlie McConalogue is not available this week to speak to us, okay? So we've made inquiries.
Why am I not? Why am I not surprised?
Yeah,
Joe?
well, he's not. Joe McHugh, we can't get through to Joe McHugh to get any response from him. So this is, I think when there's sort of, if you look at this story along a line, I think this is a marker where this is one of the most important days in the defective concrete story for me anyway. And unfortunately, neither Charlie McConnell or Joe McHugh, perhaps for good reason, are available to speak to us today. And listening and to the way Darragh O'Brien framed the current scheme here in Donegal, it sounded like he thinks it's not too bad, that things are working. Let's just listen to it. I want to just play a little clip of what he said a little earlier on, just to see if we can get a sense of it.
The issue with regard to banking and how mortgage lenders are dealing with some homeowners is an issue that's been raised with me, which we'll continue to address with the banks also, and I'll address this directly with residents. I'm pleased to see, I'll County Corla as well, that we're seeing applications, particularly in Donegal and Mayo, being processed through the system now, being processed effectively and efficiently. We have a lot more to do in that space, but all of those homeowners will receive the benefit of the revised scheme, the revised 100% redress scheme, and I'll keep the Deputy informed of our engagement with regard to the banks on the mortgage issues.
Well, listen, we've heard the bank stuff a million times now. I don't think anyone thinks anything's going to change there. But is the scheme working effectively and efficiently under the new... He also referenced it in an earlier clip, under the new enhanced 100% redress scheme. Is that how it is on the ground, Dan, in Donegal?
Look, Joe, Greg, all I can say is that talk's cheap. And can I just... You said something very important there with regard to the variation in the schemes. I would go to say is that the government make a homeowner's wish list and used it as a template to write up the scheme for the apartment owners. I would actually say they used our wish list as a template. But going on from what he said, again, talk's cheap. And I just heard from one of our councillors this morning that, and this is definitively true, this is empirical evidence, 50% of all applications coming into the council at the moment are breaching the existing cap. And that is even taking into account the increase in the SEAI figures. So 50% of our applications are breaching the cap.
They don't include foundations, I take it, Anne.
No, they don't include foundations. We don't know where that will be in the new regulations because we don't have them yet. Yep. The enhanced regulations, we don't have them yet. We're not privy to them yet. But 50% of applications coming in, according to Martin McDermott, are breaching the existing cap. So what does that mean? In reality, that means that people will have to find the balance of that money themselves. Now, people will be forced into incredibly difficult situations. So if you have two professionals working in a house who have a good chance of finding the money to fix their house, they will actually have to say they won't be getting Susie grants for their children if they have children. They will be forced into a situation where they will have to decide, do I educate my children because I won't qualify for the Susie grant, or do I repair my house? They are the lucky people. There will be other people who just don't have 40, 50 or 60,000.
No, most people don't. I mean, unless they're different people I know. No one I know could put their hand on 30, 40, 50,000 euro. Maybe it's just the circles I mix in, but they simply don't. And the older you get, the less, either you dig into the slight bit of comfort you might have had for your retirement, or you try and get a loan, which you probably won't get. And what I don't understand, and anyone sitting around this ministerial table who approved this, what I can't understand is that you accept that people of Dublin are more deserving than people in Donegal, because the only difference here is that people of Donegal were wronged at a higher price. They did nothing wrong. The people in Dublin done nothing wrong. The only difference is that it costs more to fix the Donegal problem. So people are being discriminated against. It's plain as the nose on my face. These are all victims, yet the victims in Dublin are being looked after. Fair play to them. The victims in Donegal and elsewhere, they're being thrown this mess to try and unravel to see if they can get some sort of repairs done to their house. It's so unfair. I don't know how anyone could sit around a ministerial table and tick off on this. I would have said, I am not approving this until you apply the same rules to the scheme in Donegal. And I would have got up and walked out.
Greg, you know what? We are all citizens of this country. And I thought our Constitution said that that meant we were equal. And I thought that our Constitution would then confirm that there should be natural justice for all citizens of the state. But it would appear to me that there is a divide. So you've got inside the pale, you've got outside the pale, and that there is a huge disparity in how people in those circumstances are treated, which again, Greg, leads us on to an argument which is not for today, but why does that exist?
Because there's probably 30,000 votes up here and maybe 500,000 votes down there. Maybe 1 million. I don't know.
Absolutely.
That's that. I mean, is that what it comes down to? Is that the currency?
Absolutely, but I go back to citizenship and natural justice. And we have to, Greg, ask our TDs, we have to particularly ask our Minister at the table, Charlie McConlogue, why he permitted this travesty and why it was obscured and hidden until the day before it was announced.
Because it was actively suppressed. It was actively suppressed. It was released between Christmas and New Year's, and people, not me, were asked to sit on it. And some people did. And as soon as I heard about it, I'll put it out there. But
absolutely. I'm not talking about you, Greg.
No, I'm not being defensive. I'm not being defensive, but I know this. I know a lid was kept on this. I know it was.
But our TD and our Minister at the table was involved in this decision. He was actively involved in this decision. He was part of it. And I mean the anger that is out there from Mica homeowners, I mean, it's nothing short of a re-trauma. This is going to fuel further anger, further distress, re-trauma, and huge political cynicism. That is to say, if we in Donegal could get any more cynical.
No, well, that's the problem. I was going to say that. Yeah. All right, Anne. Listen, we're going to continue to cover this. Thanks for accepting our invite this morning. Thank you, Yvonne Shufflin. Good morning to you, Yvonne. What's your take on this? Thanks for speaking to us again.
How's it going, Greg?
All right.
I just wonder where I could get a Dublin postcode this morning, because just really shocked, Greg, at that. That it took 12 months to get this scheme up and running, and it's just shocking.
For those not aware, you own an apartment. You have been fighting for everything that was delivered for people last night, and yet here you are with one arm as long as the other. No help for you really at all. It must just be extra bad for you.
It is, Greg. It's a kick in the teeth. To me, this is discrimination at the highest level. And for Darragh Breen to say that the scheme is in place and it's working effectively is the biggest load of rubbish. We are stuck. We're stalled in the scheme at the minute because we have a duplex apartment and there's so much complications with it. It's unbelievable. It's just a kick in the teeth. And as you say, you're standing with one arm longer than the other. We're no better off 10 years later, Greg, fighting and emailing and
I mean, that's a big part of any of our lives, Yvonne. For this cloud to be hanging over everything. From everything in your life, I presume, goes through this filter, this defective concrete filter.
Greg, you have no idea. You have no idea the stress and the torture and the torment and the actual despair that we as a family have went through. Our children has grown up with nothing but Micah. We're not even living in our apartment because it's so dangerous. There's a big block fell off 2 days ago because of that freezing and the thawing. And there's another pit hanging just in the balance.
I was just listening to some of the conversation yesterday, and I wanted to go to Eileen, but Eileen, if it's okay, if you hang up, we'll come back to you after 10. They were talking yesterday about how this is good because there was a fire and someone could nearly have died, and we've seen what happened in Grenfell, and we don't want that happening in Dublin. And I was thinking, and I don't know how to phrase this with it sounding wrong, but where would we be at if one of these walls, and it could have happened, fallen on some kids playing football against the Gavel, or if a chimney stack fell down in a car and killed people? Would we have to be arguing like this, Yvonne? Would it have taken the loss of life for Donegal to be looked after correctly? Because it seems our good luck in that regard has worked very much against us.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know if that would, bring things on, Greg, to be honest, because the way that we've been treated. I mean, I have our apartment is gas with a twisting building, and I have sent this to the housing department and the environmental health. I have about 1,000 emails sent all over the country, and not one bit of help have we received. We're not even living in the apartment, Greg. We had to move out,
and listen,
we're still paying a mortgage.
And I think I can read between the lines of what you're saying there as well, Yvonne, and the potential dangers. Listen, we're going to return to this as well, Yvonne. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, Yvonne, and I'm really sorry that you're waking up with this slap again. All right, thanks so much indeed.
Yeah.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
New this week in Home Store and More. All artificial plants are half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price artificial plants are gone, they're gone. Also, all rugs and all 100% cotton printed duvet sets are still half price. But when all the half price rugs and all the half price 100% cotton printed duvet sets are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Are you interested in a career in financial services? John F. Lowery Financial Services are expanding, and we are looking for administrators, trainee financial advisors and experienced financial advisors to join our team. With competitive packages on offer for all positions, why not check out our Facebook or LinkedIn page for more information? If you are highly motivated, enthusiastic and want to work for an award-winning broker, we want you. To apply, send a CV to lisa@jfl.ie on or before the closing date of the 29th of January. John F. Lowery and Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowery Financial Services, are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. John F. Lowery Financial Services is an equal opportunity employer.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Any wintry showers will clear through the morning. Mostly dry weather will follow for the rest of the day with sunny spells, although some mist and fog may linger locally with little or no wind. Another cold day. Highest temperatures just 1 to 4 degrees. Right, just have to catch up on one last break before we get the news and obituary notices. Stay tuned. Back with more on the 9 till noon show afterwards.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
The choices we make determine where we're going. Where will your choices take you? Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles and join the thousands of Irish drivers who swap diesel for Toyota Hybrid Electric, lowering their emissions and fuel costs. We've Ireland's widest hybrid electric range, including the Toyota CHR and Yaris Cross. Don't miss out. Order today at Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world.
I've lost my car keys. Lost my car once in a multi-story. Lost my patience. My hair? Lost that a while back. But this week, I found things I thought had gone forever. The crackle of needle on vinyl. Leaves crunching. I found them all at Specsavers. I got free hearing aids with PRSI. And now those sounds are back. So's my joie de vivre. Still can't find those keys, though.
Book a free hearing test today. Terms and conditions apply. See our website for details.
The Clanry Hotel presents Nathan Carter in concert this Friday 20th. Doors open at 7, show starts at 8 p.m. Tickets are €30 each and available from the hotel reception. That's Nathan Carter in concert this Friday night at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
Do you know what I love about Letterkenny Shopping Centre? I love it because everything I need is under one roof. There's fashion shopping for women and men, health foods and cosmetics, Tesco's and Pennies, free parking and late night shopping Thursday and Friday. I love it because Letterkenny Shopping Centre has it all, including homeware, jewellery, hair and beauty and Revolution Laundry and their free car park. Letterkenny Shopping Centre. So much choice and open 7 days.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. The Garda Commissioner has confirmed that Gardaí are continuing to liaise with the coroner in a bid to reach a conclusion in the investigation into the Creaslet tragedy. 10 people died following the explosion at a shop and filling station in October. In the aftermath, the scene remained closed for a number of weeks to allow Gardaí and other experts from overseas gather evidence. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris says while the outcome is uncertain, they are hopeful that they will come to what he termed a satisfactory solution.
Together with the experts who are working on this, we would hopefully get to, a satisfactory conclusion as to the cause of this. But that'll be part of the investigation then that we would support in terms of the investigation into the coroner. So, we have a responsibility in terms of the coroner and the information that we would gain through investigation and reporting it to the coroner. Ultimately, we would hopeful we'd get to some final explanation as to what happened, and that's what we're working towards, obviously.
The Sinn Féin leader says there is now a sense of movement toward the restoration of power sharing in Northern Ireland. Taoiseach Micheál Martin and Northern Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris are among a delegation attending a key meeting of the British-Irish Intergovernmental Conference in Farmley today. There's been no government at Stormont since last May's Assembly elections, with the DUP demanding changes to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Mary Lou McDonald says she believes a deal can and will be done soon.
8 months on, there is now an urgent and pressing need for government to be re-established, and there is now finally a sense of movement, finally a sense that a reasonable, rational approach can be taken and a deal can be struck on the outstanding issues around the protocol, that those matters can be resolved, that we can then get back to work.
Donegal County Council is being urged to erect better signage advising HGVs and large vehicles not to drive down Market Square in Letterkenny. Officials say there are 2 signs in place, but Councillor Jimmy Kavanagh says there needs to be earlier signage. He outlined a recent case where a lorry driver from Northern Ireland got stuck at the top of the square and only managed with great difficulty to get back to the cathedral. He says the warnings need to be visible sooner, and he believes that officials have taken that on board.
You do need far earlier warning. And in fairness to the engineer there today, I think he's taken that on board, and that will be better signage will be provided there. I think also, at times people use sat-nav and so on, and it doesn't necessarily provide them with the route that's best for the vehicle they're driving. So we need to be careful with that, and we really do need to make sure that the signs are very visible and easily seen.
Barring a political mishap, the next general election will be in the autumn of next year. Taoiseach Lee of Radker has indicated to his Fine Gael colleagues he wouldn't like to see a winter election. Instead, it looks like people will go to the polls in the autumn of 2024. According to the Irish Independent, all three coalition leaders will decide on a date together so the government can work out a vote transfer pact. And road users are being warned of potentially dangerous driving conditions again this morning as the cold snap continues. Met Éireann's nationwide status yellow ice warning is in place until midday. An advisory remains in place in Donegal until tomorrow. It's urging people commuting to be mindful of icy stretches on roads and footpaths. Alan O'Reilly from Carlow Weather says temperatures will rise over the weekend.
Saturday morning, really, we should be back to most areas having thawed at that stage or thawing. There may be some showers that could potentially fall as sleet and snow before turning to rain, but by Saturday afternoon, temperatures will be back up above freezing, well above freezing. And by Sunday, we're looking back up to 10 degrees. So we're nearly at the end of it.
Weather forecast, any wintry showers will clear through the morning. Mostly dry weather will follow for the rest of the day. Sunny spells with some mist and fog lingering locally with little or no wind. Another cold day, top temperatures just hitting 1 to 4 degrees Celsius. Tonight again very cold with frost and icy patches. Dry early with some clear spells, but mist will thicken into dense freezing fog in places. Lowest overnight temperatures -5 to -2 in just light southeast breezes. Some sunny spells will develop. Mist or fog will persist across some inland areas tomorrow. It'll be less cold than recently on Friday, with top temperatures 4 to 5 degrees Celsius in light southeast breezes. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, have a very good morning.
Obituary notices for Thursday morning, January 19th. The death has occurred of Catherine Kate McGerlin, née Convery, Newtown Cunningham, County Donegal, formerly Cúnlasilla Mahara. Funeral from her home on Glass, Newtown Cunningham on Saturday at 11:15am for 12 noon Requiem Mass in All Saints Church, Newtown Cunningham. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time from 11pm to 11am. Family flowers only, donations in lieu to Donegal Hospice. The death has occurred of Anne McHugh, née McCann, The Commons, Killybegs, County Donegal. Remains reposing at her residence today from 10am to 10pm. Removal tomorrow at 1:30pm to St Mary of the Visitation Church, Killybegs for 2pm funeral mass. Burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Mass will be streamed live on mcnmedia.tv. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the North West Hospice, Sligo. The death has occurred of Eileen Shovlin, née McMenamin, Church Road, Killybegs, and formerly of Bellalt Crossroads, Killygordon. Remains reposing at her residence today from 12 noon until 10pm. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:30am to St Mary of the Visitation Church, Killybegs for 11am funeral mass. The Mass will be streamed live on mcnmedia.tv. Burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the Killybegs Community Hospital, care of any family member or McBurty Funeral Directors. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has occurred of Hughie Eamon McGarvey, Chapel Road, Bringnalack, Gweedore. Removal today from Eternal Light Chapel of Rest Mountain Top, Letterkenny at 2pm, going to his son Hugh's residence, Chapel Road, Bringnalack. Funeral from there on Saturday, going to Chack Pubble, Columkill, Knockfalla for Requiem Mass on Saturday at 11am. Followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Rosary both nights at 8pm. Family time from 11pm to 11am. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on Charlie McClafferty Funeral Director's Facebook page. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu. Irish Alzheimer's Unit, Gweedore, care of any family member. The death has occurred in London, England of Christopher Doherty, Christy Gill, The Rock, Fafena, Ballymagan, Buncrana. Christie's remains will arrive at 6pm today to St Mary's Church, Cockhill to repose overnight. Funeral tomorrow at 11am with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Ronan Roddy, Tren Namullen, Stranorler. Remains reposing at McCool's Chapel of Rest, Ballybuffet this evening from 6pm until Rosary at 9pm. when his remains will be removed to the family home. Funeral leaving his home on Saturday morning at 10:30am for Requiem Mass in the Church of Mary Immaculate Stranorlar at 11am. Interment afterwards in Drumbow Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, directly to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The house is private to family and close friends, please. The death has occurred of Mary McGonigal, Nee O'Donnell, Chris Lamore, Burnfoot. Her remains will repose at her home today from 12 noon. Removal on Saturday morning at 10:15am to St Maur's Church Fawn for Requiem Mass at 11am, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time please from 11pm to 11am. Family flyers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Ballytrim House for Foe, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Annie Boyle, Nee McClune, Loch Crillon Road, and formerly Ochla and the Crows. Reposing at Chilvan's Funeral Home, Sandfield, Ardra this afternoon from 3:30pm, with removal at 5:30pm to arrive in St Connell's Church, Glenties at 6pm to repose overnight. Funeral Mass tomorrow afternoon at 1pm with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Family flyers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Killybegs Community Hospital, care of James McGuinness and Sons Funeral Director, Main Street, Glenties, or any family member. The death has occurred of Michael Tommy Boyle, Loch Fad, reposing at his daughter's residence at 5 Golf Cottages, Clooney. Rosary tonight at 9pm. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11am for Requiem Mass in St Connell's Church, Kilclooney, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House strictly private on the morning of the funeral. Family flyers only. Donations in lieu if desired to the Alzheimer's Society, Donegal branch, care of James McGuinness and Sons Funeral Director, or any family member. The death has taken place of Frank Sweeney, Ballymagown, Fanad. Removal from the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest Mountain Top, Letterkenny this evening at 5pm, going to St Columba's Church Mass Mount with Rosary at 6pm. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 11am with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on St Mary's Fanavolti and St Columba's Mass Mount Facebook page. House private please. Family flyers only please. Donations if desired to Fanad Day Centre, care of Eamon Scott Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Moira Clinton, Nee Shields, Glassa, Fanad. Moira's remains will repose at her late residence from 10:30am this morning. Rosary at 8pm. Requiem Mass will be held at St Mary's Church, Fanavolti at 1pm tomorrow afternoon, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. House private on the morning of the funeral. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via St Mary's, Fanavolti and St Columba's Mass Mount Facebook page. Family flyers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Fanad Day Centre, care of any family member or Macatier Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Josie Diver, Tierna League, Carndonagh. Remains reposing at her sister Margaret's home at Tierna League, Carndonagh. Funeral leaving there tomorrow morning at 10:15am to Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh for Requiem Mass at 11am. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flyers only. Donations in lieu to the ICU in Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Edward McMonigal, Golan, Milford and latterly of Termon. Funeral Mass in St Bridget's Church, Golan at 11am tomorrow morning, followed by interment in Milford Cemetery. The house is strictly private please. The death has occurred of Anne Kelly, Nee McHugh, 3 St Vincent's Close, Balbuffet and formerly Mean Glass. Remains reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving there tomorrow morning at 10:30am for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Shesha O'Neill at 11am. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish Facebook page. Donations in lieu of flyers, if so desired, directly to the Donegal Hospice or care of any family member. Family time from 9pm to 11am. The death has occurred of Patrick Carlin, formerly of Leitrim, Bogey, Newtown, Cunningham, and Clunamahan Intellectual and Disability Service, County Sligo. Patrick is reposing at his sister Ursula Carling's residence, 20 Green Hill Manor, Cunningham, today from 11am. Funeral leaving his sister's residence tomorrow morning at 10:20am, going to St Bathan's Church, St Johnson for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred of Seamus McCaig, 1 Ashlawn Letterkenny, formerly Torhead, County Antrim, reposing at the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Ballyreen, Letterkenny, with 11 a.m. Requiem Mass this morning, which can be viewed online at the Church of the Irish Martyrs YouTube channel, followed by interment in the family plot in Conwall Cemetery. Family flyers only, please. Donations, if wished, to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. The death has occurred of Paddy McShane, 5 Ballycolman Estates, Strabane, formerly of Burndennet. Remains reposing at his son Joe McShane's home, 114 Berry Hill Road, Archie Garvin, Strabane. Funeral leaving his son's home this morning at 10:25 a.m. for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church Clockcar at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. And the death has taken place of Eddie McLaughlin, 45 Carrigullion Road, Strabane, and formerly of Legford Drum. Remains reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home this afternoon at 12:15 p.m. for Requiem Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane at 1 p.m. Interment afterwards in Strabane Cemetery. Donations in lieu of flyers, please, to the Foyle Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. Family time, please, until 11 a.m. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Good morning. If you are just joining us, your bingo numbers are on the way, of course. It is jackpot day, so lots of you interested in that. Good morning, Greg. I hope Joe and Charlie and this government is finished next time around. Big time. It's time for the people to wake up in this country. This government is bringing in new laws every month, and we just sit back and take everything. It's coming to a stage in Ireland, Greg, you'd need 3 jobs to pay the bills coming in the door. I understand where you're coming from, but just in terms of waking up, tens of thousands of people from Donegal took time out of their busy schedule to go down and, campaign at the doors of power. What that achieved or not has to remains to be seen, but it's not over yet either. Hi, Greg. As one of your guests intimated, there is no natural justice for the Micah sufferers of Donegal. The Irish Constitution is simply not fit for purpose. You can rightly call it discrimination, but what it all comes to is that democracy is a false religion led by the Dublin government. Again, it's Donegal, the forgotten county. It's about time that this county stood up for itself, because the likes of Charlie McConalogue, Donegal TD, isn't going to open his mouth because he's too scared to lose his job. Well, Charlie, it's time that you stood up for the people that voted for you. The people of Donegal should stop complaining. For almost 100 years, they voted Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and will continue to do so in the future like obedient fools. What more those in power in Dublin know. This is so why should they care what happens in Donegal? Well, most people in Donegal who are elected aren't Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil. I take your point, but there's 2 Sinn Féin representatives, 1 independent, 1 Fine Gael who's not in Fine Gael parliamentary party, and Charlie McConnell. So you could say in County Donegal at the moment there's 1 elected TD who is a member of the parliamentary party for which he was elected. So what else do you want people to do? Greg, just cannot believe what has happened. I'm at my wit's end and this morning. How can this be allowed to happen? Just devastated. Another, it simply stinks. The scheme for Dublin is to fix poor workmanship and corner cutting on fire safety. Would be very easy to go after anyone who did this work. Simply wasn't done as it should have been. Micah and Pirate issue is a whole different ball game. Well, it isn't. It isn't. It's regulations weren't followed or enforced in either, let's just call it Donegal. I mean, we know there's 12 other counties and more, but let's just say what this is about: regulations not being followed or enforced. The cost to someone in Dublin happens to be around about 25,000. The cost for someone in Donegal happens to be much more. It's the exact same thing as far as I'm concerned, and the people of Donegal should be treated the same as those in Dublin. Neither homeowner, flat owner, apartment owner are at blame. One, that's being recognised and they're being compensated 100%. In other cases, it's not being recognised and they're being sold, it's the best we can do type of scheme, the poor taxpayer, blah, 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 blah. Not a problem in Dublin. Is there any difference between the situation that exists in Northern Ireland with discrimination, where we have people in Dublin making decisions over the Micah issue? Good morning, Greg. Why does our government have such disdain for Donegal when our local minister at the table won't come on this morning's show to show where he stands? Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have done their research. Donegal and other rural counties mean nothing to all of them, which is why they're so underfunded and under-resourced. Wake up, people. I hope Charlie McConnell, Joe McHugh and Niall Blaney are unavailable at election time. Charlie should come on the radio, plain and simple. He should be made come on and explain to his electorate this morning. We can't be compelled to do anything. We can simply extend an invite. And more coming in here. Keep them coming. We are going to be continuing on that topic and very much more to come between now and 12. So it's going to be another busy show. Let's take a break for those obituary, not the obituary notices, I beg your pardon, the bingo numbers.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 19th of January, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €13,800 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S14. It's game number 3. The jackpot number is number 9. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 68, 86, 42, 57, 27, 79, 12, 16, 8, and finally 58. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Winter sale at Brian McCormick Sports now on. In-store and online. Discounts of up to 30% off. Asics, New Balance, Brooks and Hoka footwear. GT2000, Gel Cumulus, New Balance 880, Hoka Clifton 8 to name just a few. Treat your feet in our winter sale. Grab a discount and stretch those legs. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
At Centra this week we have great offers like Centra Fresh Irish chicken breast fillets 680 gram only $6.99, Centra soup 400 gram selected range any 2 for $3.50, and Casiero Del Diablo Cabernet Sauvignon only €10. Smart choices, choose Centra. Centra, live every day. Enjoy Call sensibly.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Okay, Eileen McLaughlin Long joins us now. Eileen, sorry for having to hold you there over from the news. Your initial reaction to the announcement of this scheme for Dublin homeowners, what's your feelings on it?
Hi, Greg. I'm not one bit surprised the government doesn't shock anybody anymore, but it's absolutely disgusting. Yet again, we have been given a slap in the face, and the people of Dublin are coming up trumps. So, nothing new there.
And I note someone who speaks on behalf of Dublin apartment holders recognising that they don't want the government to do to them what they're doing to the people of Donegal. I thought it quite a remarkable intervention. What's your situation? How are you affected by this, Eileen?
Well, we discovered about our house is 17 years old. We discovered about 7 years ago, like we were in denial, obviously, as usual, with everybody would be. But we discovered about 7 years ago that we had mica, and then we went for the testing, and almost 2 years ago we were full demolish, but we can't go any further ahead because we can't afford to.
Is that even under the enhanced scheme, in inverted commas? The one, I mean, we heard Minister O'Brien reference it as a 100% scheme in a clip this morning.
100%, but sure, they're putting a cap on it, but they're not rising with, the rising inflation. They're not going with the building cost and the labour. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what's the point in putting a cap on something when everything is rising and rising? It's just stupidity, really.
I mean, maybe this isn't. Yeah, maybe this isn't sort of the biggest problem at the moment for you, but like the foundations, do you know if they would need to be changed, or because I mean, obviously that would be a further cost whether they would be paid for or you'd have to come up with the money yourself. Like, would you be happy enough to rebuild your house if you could on the existing foundations, I wonder?
No way. Like, that's, it's common sense. If it's in the blocks, it's also going to be in the concrete. I mean, anybody with an ounce of common sense would know that there. And for them to even think that they can get away with that, it's ridiculous. It won't happen. Like, to be put through the devastation of demolishing your house and then to build on foundations that they won't even test or, no, that's ridiculous, Greg. It really is.
I mean, is it clear how much money you might have to come up, you would have to be able to come up with to rebuild your home?
We haven't had final figures, but you could be chatting on, I think, to 40 or 50,000. Wow. I mean, who's expecting the money line about?
No one.
It's ridiculous. No, nobody.
Now, you've been approved for demolition. Is the house habitable at the moment? What's it like at the moment?
It is at the moment. We have a gable out there that's extremely dangerous at the minute. It's bolting out in the middle and twisting in the corner. It's not looking too good. We've had a few builders out and they have advised us to get it fixed straight away. But, of course, we don't have the money for that. No, I'd be thankful that the rain isn't coming on top of like a lot of houses. Yeah. We didn't get our house pumped, thank God, so that's a big advantage on our side. But it's just, I don't know, maybe another year if we're lucky, but who knows? Once it goes, it's like a house of cards. I
mean, obviously, I'm not talking about everything in life being hopeless, but in terms of your house, getting a house back, it is hopeless. I mean, I'm not sure even if you would have been inclined to maybe if you could take the maximum and build a smaller house, that might not have suited you. But even that option was taken off the table by government. It's difficult. Like, how do you, in terms of where you live going forward, do you what's your future, Eileen?
Like, what you were saying there about downsizing, why should we?
Yeah, no, I get you. That's why I said it might not apply to you, yeah.
Why should anybody downsize when we're still paying our mortgage? Like, so, for another 15 years, and we've 3 young children. So, is the government going to swoop in and say, right, we'll take 5-10 years off your mortgage? No. So, we won't be downsizing. And for them to even suggest that, it's another insult.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So, I don't know. I mean, it's too bad when you have worked hard and saved and, going on holidays, sacrifice going on holidays, etc. Why we should have to now, in the future, we're going to have to sacrifice a lot of things that the kids should be doing just to get our house back to some normality. There's no end in sight.
And this house is, as you've mentioned yourself, you're still paying a mortgage on. So in other words, even if you were to consider at some point you might have to move out, rent, to pay mortgage and rent for normal families, it's just not doable. Like, it's, and yet we hear Darragh O'Brien saying this is a great scheme and it's working and people are on it and are moving through it and it's effective and it's gonna, it's just your reality. It's just heartbreaking that someone like you has to listen to that. That's what I'm trying to get at. Why should you have to listen to it? Why should you have to listen to other people get a brilliant scheme? That gable you talked of, if this was Dublin and you did fix that gable or something similar to their scheme, you would get refunded for that work. Here, don't touch it, because if that's dead money if you spend it now. Another example of how it's so different up here compared to the capital.
Yeah, they just, and even if you did go to do any work, like, they'll say, all right, you put the money up front first and then we will refund you down the line. Who has that kind of money to, you can't pull 5,000 or 10,000 out of a bag. They just think that we're made of money and do it yourself and we'll sort you out maybe down the line. It's ridiculous. They don't have a clue. Words are easy to them, but they're not living in the reality of it. And the fact that they have come up to people's houses and seen the harsh realities of what some families are having to go through, and that they can sleep at night, it's a disgrace.
Because what's even worse is it's being spun it's been spun nationally and on national media that Donegal sorted, that we got Donegal done and now we're focusing on Dublin. And that's what's extra frustrating, that we're up here knowing the reality and they're down there spinning this tale that everything is fixed up here, or it will be fixed because they've announced this fully funded brilliant scheme. The only thing that would help us is if we had a voice at that decision-making table to say, hold on, you lads, it's not fixed up in Donegal. We can't sign off on what's happening in Dublin until we get Donegal right. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And here we are. Here we are again, having to beg, moan, complain. But it's because we've been put into this position. It's not our choice. It's not what we want to do. Eileen, you want to be living in the house that you have worked very hard to build without a worry in the world as it relates to the structure of that house. But that's not, we can't pretend that's not real. You're outlining your reality. There's very little hope in terms of, the accommodation.
Yeah, I mean, there just seems to be no way forward. And, when you hear other people's stories, it just breaks your heart for even everybody is in it together. And some of the cases, water flooding in, day and night, that's no way of living. Children breathing in mould. It's I can't understand this government. They're a disgrace.
And that's really important you make that black mould, and I tried to push it as much as I could in this show how dangerous it is. Lifelong health impacts for young children living in these homes, inhaling that. Lifelong, potentially. Now, don't want to scare anyone, but it's very, very dangerous, prolonged exposure to it. It's not just you have bad breathing and when your house is fixed, it's gone. It can cause long-term lung issues. We heard that from a lung expert, one of the top lung experts in this country. And that doesn't seem to matter to people that make these decisions.
The government know all this, and they're doing nothing. And it goes to show you, they need to put out. It's shocking that they're letting this happen, but they wouldn't let it happen in Dublin.
No,
that's for sure.
And you'd not one foot had to hit the streets of Dublin either to get this scheme. It's like they took all what we were looking for up here and just delivered it for Dublin in a year. Primary legislation, no talk of skipping, legislative review, none of that crack that we had to do here. None of this, listen, you better accept this because time's running out and this is the best deal on the table and all that nonsense we've been fed for the last 10 or 11 years. There was none of that. There was, there's 2.5 million. We're going to make it really easy. You just don't have to do it individually. Whoever manages the apartment block can do it for you. We're going to get everything sorted. If you've already spent money, don't worry, that's refunded. We're going to get your properties back to exactly the way they should have been. Everything that people up here were looking for has been delivered without a foot having to hit the tarmac in Dublin. It's crazy. I don't get it. Eileen, I'm sorry for everything you're going through. I really am. Thanks for helping us understand the reality of living with this disaster.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you very much.
Take care. Best wishes to all the family. Caller says, I was invited to speak at a working group entitled Working Group to Examine Defects for Housing because I was an estate agent in Donegal. In July 2021, the chairman of the working group was... Right, I'm actually going to come back to that just because names are mentioned. I just want to have one quick look over that. What could our hard-working minister be doing today that is more important than taking a few minutes out to talk to the people of Donegal? What could our hard-working minister be doing today that is more important than taking a few minutes out to talk to the people of Donegal? That's according to a listener. Hello, Greg. I was just wondering, does anyone else think, like me, just wondering, what would the 6 men that died in the 1916 think of the way Ireland is being run today? All others that died like them. Hope this doesn't start a big discussion. Thanks for keeping up the good work. Greg, what the F are our councillors hiding, or where are they hiding? Not one word from any of them. Each one needs to be called out now and asked, are they with us or not? Because at the moment it looks like they are not. Morning, Greg. A total joke that Joe and Charlie are hiding as they describe it. Once again, the people of Donegal have been deprived again. Listening to that caller, I can only hope Charlie McConalogue hands his head in shame. Talking to the council is a waste of time. The different treatment between Donegal and Dublin is terrible. Ultimately, obviously, the only thing we can control from an electoral perspective is local. But ultimately, these are decisions that have been made by the government. Right, a quick break. Back with more on this.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard. Bringing full banking features. Delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
There's still time to experience the unmissable magic of winter in Dublin. Come celebrate our rich culture and heritage this January. Take to the heart of the city for Tradfest Temple Bar. From cosy pub sessions to intimate performances in historical hotspots. Or why not immerse yourself in art and culture at any of Dublin's free national museums? There's so much to see and do this January. Winter in Dublin. It's magic. Make your plans today at visitdublin.com. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
We can all see how conflict affects energy supply and prices. More than ever, we need to be mindful of how we use energy. By reducing your use, you can save money and lessen the impact. Here's how. Only heat your home to the temperature you need. Use appliances efficiently. And where possible, outside the peak hours of 4 to 7 p.m. Consider walking, cycling, or public transport for short journeys. Drive at lower speeds where safe to do so. Government advice and supports are available for homes and businesses to help you meet this challenge. Find out more at gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Foy & Company are the Northwest's leading interiors, paint, curtain and blind and interior design specialists. Make a statement in style and give your home or commercial premises a fresh new look this year. With over 25 years experience, the in-house team of interior designers and paint colour consultants will make it happen. This month, get a free 1-hour colour and interior design consultation at Foy & Company in Letterkenny. Book now to transform any room or commercial space on 9121925.
Around the Northwest with John Breslin will come to you from the Regional Cultural Centre this Friday to mark the launch of Letterkenny Trad Week. Join us for some music and chat with some very special guests. That's Around the Northwest with John Breslin this Friday from 12 noon till 2:30 p.m.
Okay, we've lots to get through this morning, but we're just going to stay for a moment more with this big story of a major €2.5 billion scheme announced for Dublin apartment owners. It's 100% redress. Everything will be covered if they've spent money already. That will be refunded to them if the work meets certain standards. They're not having to look at old building standards. Everything would be presumably right up to scratch now. Joe Morgan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm all right, Joe. Your reaction to this news?
I mean, lost for words, Greg, is probably the initial reaction. And infuriated by the confidence and pomp and ceremony that Minister Darragh O'Brien put together in terms of that statement and that presentation of a scheme for apartment owners in Dublin, which they deserve, by the way, that the people of Donegal and Mayo and Clare and Limerick and beyond have been asking for 14 years, and we didn't get, and we got pushed back on all of the key elements that would have allowed every family with a defective blockhouse to get on and remedy their homes. It's unbelievable. I still think I have to be missing something. I do not understand how they can blatantly
let me propose,
discriminate.
Let's see how they can, Joe. We politics works in election cycles. They know that we talked about Donegal first, then Mayo. It's 12, 13 other counties. It's going to be in every county, I think, in this country before the dust settles, defective concrete. They don't want to take it on. They're afraid of how much it might cost, yet they can deliver what appears to be a big win in Dublin for $2.5 billion. Maybe it's just simply political.
Yeah. And Greg, you know what? That's where I'm leaning to as well, because I really cannot understand what other driver is out there that would allow this very blatant discrimination to take place. And if that is the case, if it is the case that because Donegal, the northwest of Ireland, is as geographically dispersed from government buildings and densely populated urban centres, if that's what's driving this, well, shame on the government, one, but all of these developments, and in terms of ongoing conversations that we're having with the EU, are being shared with key representatives of the EU to try and get to an appreciation as to whether there is a legal stance based on discrimination based on national origin, to see if there's a role that the EU can play to put this to a stop. Because I can tell you, as a homeowner that's been involved in the campaign, and there are thousands of people that have done this for years and have expended huge effort, it is soul destroying to see a campaign that has really only come to the international press over the last 6 to 12 months, in my view, now being given exactly what we've been asking for 14 years. It's absolutely soul destroying, and it's absolutely disgraceful.
Like, I mean, let's forget money, right? Let's forget about money, whether it's 25 or 420. How can it be legal, right, for one group of citizens to be treated different to others? Presumably, it's down to lack of adherence to regulations and a lack of enforcement of regulations in both cases. So let's forget whether it's concrete or a fire door. Let's forget if it's 400 grand or 25 grand. That shouldn't matter, because fundamentally both sets of people have been wronged. One have been perfectly looked after, seemingly. The others have been thrown under the bus. That surely has to be discrimination. I think you hinted at this already in your comments. That has to be wrong on a legal, certainly wrong on a moral level, but it has to be wrong on a legal level.
Yeah, and Greg, I'm not a legal expert, but I can answer that question because I've been doing research into it. When we initially tackled this with Europe, we were very much focused on concrete building and construction regulation within Ireland. And the homeowners have been screaming this for the 14, 15 years of the campaign, that there has not been the right level of oversight by government and market surveillance authority that they are afforded from the EU relative to concrete building in Ireland. Right now, we've been screaming it, but the government themselves, in written responses to the Petty Committee within the EU, have confirmed it, and indeed their own construction experts and industry experts themselves are also confirming it, that there is self-regulation within the construction industry within Ireland, that there's light touch, that they don't have resources to go out and assess quarries, etc., that none of that is happening at the level that it should be. So that is confirmed, right? And when you have a confirmed position of that, that then starts to feed into, which is where I'm at the minute, to human rights infringements, and that's what we're trying to get the EU to bite on now. And it does specifically say within the European Convention for Human Rights that you cannot discriminate against EU citizens based on national origin. And national origin is not limited to what country you're born in. It also speaks to groups of individuals within the same country. And that's the argument that we're putting to the EU at the minute, to see if we can get them to come in and stem what I believe is discrimination based on sparsely populated, low electoral vote density areas within this country.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a good one to pursue, and you know, it might be found that that's the case, but ultimately, it's not perhaps going to change the reality for people and what they're living in, is it? Or maybe it is. I don't know.
No, you make a good point, Greg. I mean, look, the unfortunate thing is when we get into politics,
let's put it like this. I think we were called out for years. Firstly, we're paying fines for not adhering to environmental regulations here in this country. We're paying fines for not adhering to planning as it relates to that wind farm, as it relates to the poisoning of our waters. We ignored Europe as it relates to VRT, didn't we? Double taxing and stuff. What else are we ignoring them on? Our rights to treat people with a disability equally. We ignored that. Yeah. So I don't think there's any hope that even if we can prove that they've discriminated along the grounds that you've said, that it would have any really material effect on anyone's life other than, you know, them being called out for what's happening, Joe. I'm not being negative, but that's my take on it.
No, Greg, do you know what? And generally speaking, when I come on your show and speak to what we're doing and what's happening with the campaign, I typically, and it's just my DNA, would be optimistic relative to where we're going next. I do have to say the developments this week have been hard to swallow, and they would take away some of that level of optimism, and even in relation to efforts that we are proceeding with the EU. Look, there's no short resolution there. the key players that we need to listen and get involved are heavily involved in issues in Iran and in Ukraine. So they're obviously global.
It's very
issues
important
that are
work, by the way, as well. I hope we all recognise that it's a very important strand of what we're doing or what you are doing. There's many strands to this, and I think what you are pursuing in Europe is incredibly, incredibly important. And we had that major conference and so much more besides. It's just amazing that we had that conference. You've had it. I would say we. When I say we, I mean Donegal. I hope you understand what I mean, Joe.
Yeah,
but we had that where we had people from California, Debbie and the rest of them. We had people with the top experts from all over Europe. And none of that had to be done. All they had to do to fix the situation in Dublin was take the Donegal rule book that they never enforced. It's
absolutely
unbelievable.
And here's the one thing, Greg, that we now know off the back of this week's developments. We know if there is a political will that there is absolutely no issue in making this happen. Now, the political will is absent. We have a Donegal resident at the top table in Cabinet who approved the scheme this week for Donegal or for Dublin apartment owners. It can be done. The response from that same minister, Charlie McConalogue, when we pushed and asked for exactly those parameters that have been afforded to the people of Dublin, the response was to come on your show and, due to his elevated educational levels, to explain to us poor mortals the complexities of a sliding scale that within weeks was trashed by the SCSA. So that's what we're dealing with.
And do you remember, can we go back to the original scheme too, Joe?
Go ahead.
People had to take the 90-10 scheme at that time because they were said, look, you know what, if you don't take this scheme, it'll require more legislation. That could take years and years to get through the door, and then there'll be no guarantees after it. So take the 90-10 now. Next thing you know, part of the announcement from Darragh O'Brien is, well, there'll be primary legislation moving on, there'll be this, there'll be that. No mention of it. So we were treated like children. You wouldn't treat children like this. We were told, take this because the legislation, we'd have to do new legislation and it would take ages and you know what, and this, that and the other. And that was used as an excuse for people to swallow the first 90-10 scheme. And yet it's just a passing remark. Now, maybe, I hope I'm not conflating, but it's just a passing remark that primary legislation will be established for this scheme.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at all of the narrative, Greg, and that one that you picked up was very interesting. Go beyond RT's coverage yesterday where it was stated the Exchequer will be picking up the tab. Now, it wasn't the taxpayer in this case. It was the Exchequer, which is an institution within the government, right? It's not a citizen of Ireland. In terms of the narrative, it's exactly the same thing. But when it comes to funding Donegal homes, it's the taxpayer of Ireland that's paying for it. When it comes to funding these apartments in Dublin, which the overall cost is much of a muchness relative to the Donegal price point, it's the Exchequer. There's just a different narrative, there's a different approach, there's a different political will when it comes to addressing issues where electoral votes are and that's the bottom line.
And you're aware, but for those listening who may not be aware, your reference to the taxpayer, and I talked about this a little earlier on as well, right in the throes of when we were hopefully coming up to a conclusion that would be satisfactory. It was Leo Varadkar himself and others, I think Pascal Donoghue, who said that they had to be responsible, that this was taxpayers' money and every citizen in Ireland would have to contribute to this. And then what happened on Twitter then? Then what happened in Twitter was people started saying, well, why should we pay for Donegal? Why should we do this, that and the other? And it started a narrative and it did chip away, I think, to some extent at the momentum. But as you quite rightly pointed out, it's not the taxpayer anymore. It's the coffers. It's the checker. It's the money resting in the government's accounts. It's no worry. Don't worry. It won't impact you. You won't have to pay for it. It's the Exchequer. It is very deliberate language.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, at beggars belief, the last week, I have no doubt the developments this week have been extremely tough on defective concrete block homeowners, and there's going to have to be a regroup. Look, the pressure that's been put on Donegal homeowners predominantly only because the campaign's been going on longer, and that doesn't diminish in any way the other counties that are also impacted. It's just the fight has been in Donegal for a lot longer period of time, and we've been squeezed and pressurised and pushed back, and everything's been a really, really tough struggle. And I just think that it's getting to a point where people are not able to take it anymore. And I just, my thought process is it's going to explode. I think there really are maybe only one or two avenues, and I think Paddy Diver related to it as civil disobedience and the legal route. And to be quite frank with you, Greg, my view, whilst we will continue to push in Europe, I think that's a long slog, and it's not going to solve anything.
The only thing is, and I put it to Eileen a little earlier on, let's just look at the timelines here, Joe. Foundations, whether they'll be included or not, blah, 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 maybe the end of 23, start of 24. Back and forwards, humming and hawing. Next thing you're in the election cycle. I'm not sure if Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, they don't think they'd be crazy if they think they'll be back in government together. This is going to be a Sinn Féin problem before they have to sort it out. So they can deliver the 2.5 from Dublin with their fingerprints, their stamp all over it, right? See the defective concrete thing? It can be very, very easily kicked into the next government's into the next government's pitch. So even if all of Donegal descended onto the capital and shut it down, I still think they have enough there laid out in front of them that they can actually see out the rest of their term without actually having to really do anything else. Again, sorry to be negative or whatever, but that's just politically the way it looks to me, that this is already, they've bought themselves over a year really with the whether or not foundations will be included, and it would not be too difficult to run down the clock in 2024.
Yeah, and look, Greg, I think unfortunately you're probably spot on, and I think it's shameful that that's where we find ourselves, and that's the way politics works in this country. It's certainly not the Ireland that we've all been proud to be citizens of, and to be proud on the global scale in terms of what we achieve as such a small nation. It's despicable and it's disgraceful.
Okay, Joe, thanks for that. We'll finish on that note. We'll be back with more on the programme after the break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
If you're about to use an electrical appliance, like your washing machine, which uses a lot of energy, just ask the question, is this a good time?
Yeah, it's fairly breezy out. You're good to go.
If it's windy out, it is a good time, because wind generates renewable energy, which Ireland will be relying on more and more. To find out the best times for your electricity usage, sign up to our pilot at esbnetworks.ie/pilot.
Factory beef prices set to rocket. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Chinese bonuses, tighter supplies and soaring demand are pushing beef prices skywards. Angry suckler farmers have their say in exit schemes. Farmyard thefts off the Richter scale we investigate. Quilcha and Gresham House tell us about their land purchase tactics. The latest land leasing prices. Plus our special on calving cameras, milk replacers and calf feeders.
And don't miss our CAO and college guide inside this week's Irish Country Living. You cannot afford to miss it.
Banking can make you feel a bit. So why not switch to a provider that helps you take control of your finances? The On Post Money current account lets you see exactly what's going on with your money and gives you control with the tap of a button. Switch with the On Post Money app or pop into one of our 900 plus post offices. You don't even need to make an appointment. Take back power over your money today. On Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
Hi, Teresa Mannion here with a road safety alert for bad weather. Black ice is one of winter's biggest hazards and is hard to see. Watch out for sheltered or shaded areas on the road, under trees and near high walls. Visit rsa.ie from the Road Safety Authority.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Salah, Ninnis, the Beatles. You can now fly to Liverpool 8 times a week with Ryanair this summer. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okie doke. The weather forecast for the rest of today. I'll run through it for you. Any wintry showers will clear through the morning. Mostly dry weather will follow for the rest of the day with sunny spells, although some mist and fog may linger locally with little or no wind. Another cold day. Temperatures 1 to 4 degrees. Very cold again tonight with frost and icy stretches. Dry early with some clear spells. However, mist will thicken into dense freezing fog in parts. Lowest temperatures tonight -5 to -2. And tomorrow we should start to see temperatures creep up in the mid-single digits, 4 to 5 degrees tomorrow. But that's the weather forecast. Another cold one today and into tonight. Can I please say hi to our granny? Margaret McLaughlin is in Burnfoot. How are you, Margaret? I hope you're well this morning. And your loving family. Hope you are warm in all that snow up in Donegal. A very special request to you from Ina, 11, and Neve, 7. They're in Dublin, of course. Right, so okay, that's a big hi to Granny Margaret McLaughlin in Burnfoot coming in from Ina and Neve, thinking on you today. Roads are absolutely terrible, Greg. Kilmacrennan to Letterkenny, awful after snow. We just up at the mountaintop here, we just had a terrible heavy fall of snow there, so that does not surprise me. The road near Educate Together School, cars are having trouble there. Again, it's a big fall that we had recently. Mountaintop Road is terrible. Cars are sliding everywhere, we are told. Okay. Thanks for all of you, by the way, for getting that information into us. Staying with the weather. I've booked a theory test in Letterkenny today. I've been told by the RSA that I cannot cancel and reschedule my test as it's not a red warning. I stated that I'm snowed in and the roads are icy. People are being advised not to drive. However, the Road Safety Authority told me to come on ahead or I lose my money for the test. I do not think this is good enough from the Road Safety Authority, who should be putting safety first. Listen, we're going to follow this one up. That's completely unacceptable. Right, I know what to do. Leave that with us, because this is the Road Safety Authority telling someone drive in that crap snow or else you'll lose your money for your theory test. What a way to send someone out for a career of driving. It's hard not to swear sometimes, you know. My property owner have an ACE card they need to use. If 50k homes of Micah, why not stop the mortgage together? They can't put everyone on the street. That's an average cost to the banks of 40 million each month. Watch the government step in quick to resolve the problem then. Listen, if you stop paying your mortgage, your credit rating's banjaxed for probably forever. And I'm not sure it would work. If everyone did, it's multiple lenders. A lot of the houses are owned by vulture funds. You know, they can seize the property and then I don't know. It's probably worthless to them. I don't know. They don't care. They often seize properties and sell them for 20 grand anyway. These banks are so big. I'm not sure this little piddly bit of the market's going to put them up or down. Honestly, I know exactly where you're coming from, but if I think through it, I just can't see how it'd make any material impact other than destroying any chance homeowners have of ever even getting a mobile phone contract, let alone another mortgage or a car loan or something. It's just a gamble I would not be prepared to take. And as I say, these multinational banks, vulture funds in some cases, are they going to worry about 500 people in Donegal not paying a mortgage? I don't think so. But listen, but let me know if I'm wrong. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong. That's just the way I see it. Maybe it's time for an independence referendum in Donegal. For years we've been ignored by the government, and our elected reps in government seem to have no influence over any decisions made. That's not democracy. Another, in relation to all the trauma and discrimination that Micah families are facing, it's time we stood firm and told Dublin enough is enough. Greg, these representative councillors from Donegal, they basically sold us up the river once again. It's an absolute disgrace the way Micah families are being treated. It's been obvious for years that they've no shame, but now it's apparent they have no conscience either. The concrete that has Micah in it also is used in piping of roads. What's going to happen when they start to crumble? People need to look at the bigger picture. How long does the road, what part of the road, how long does the road even need to last? Are you on about driveways? Or road surfaces? I'm not really quite sure, but let us know and I'd be happy to read that out again. Nothing is going to happen until they choke Dublin and go up to Dublin on a regular basis. All they do is talk and it's not going to help. Been listening to your show this morning, Greg. Great as always. Just when you said not one foot in Dublin had to hit the street to get this scheme in place in Dublin. Big question. Big questions are who owns these apartments apart from the Taoiseach Leo owning one. Who else benefits? Is it ordinary homeowners or property management companies and the likes? Well, it's an interesting question, isn't it?
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rate switcher loans.
New this week in Home Store and More. All artificial plants are half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price artificial plants are gone, they're gone. Also, all rugs and all 100% cotton printed duvet sets are still half price. But when all the half-price rugs and all the half-price 100% cotton-printed duvet sets are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
You may think you know driving, but you don't know Nissan e-Power. An electric motor that brings you the performance and response on the road that you demand. Charged by a petrol engine as you drive. The thrill and economy of electric driving without ever having to plug in. And it's exclusive to Nissan. Who said you have to plug in to drive electric? Find the drive you've been looking for with e-Power. Now available in the new Nissan Qashqai. A unique electrifying experience now unplugged. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
Get ready for Argos' first festival of 2023 from Friday the 3rd to Monday the 6th of February. Their country and western festival kicks off with Patsy Kavanagh and Shuni Cramsey in concert on Friday. Afternoon entertainment with Gypsy Rovers, and on Saturday night, Elaine Boyle and many more acts. The Country and Western Festival, Ardra, St. Bridget's Bank Holiday Weekend. Lots of accommodation available. See ardra.ie.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. It's time to get a news update, and we say good morning once again to Emma Ryan. Good morning, Emma.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. There are currently 35 people awaiting beds at Letterkenny University Hospital, a drop of 14 compared to yesterday. The hospital is the fourth most overcrowded hospital in the country, with 12 people on trolleys in the emergency department and 23 in wards elsewhere. Nationally, 527 admitted patients are waiting for beds this morning. That's according to today's INMO Trolley Watch figures. The Garda Commissioner has confirmed that Gardaí are continuing to liaise with the coroner in a bid to reach a conclusion into the investigation in the Creaslough tragedy. 10 people died following an explosion at a shop in October last. In the aftermath, the scene remained closed for a number of weeks as Gardaí and other experts from overseas gathered evidence. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris says while the outcome is uncertain, they are hopeful they will come to a satisfactory conclusion. Spencer Road in Derry is currently closed due to a road traffic collision. The closure is in place from the Victoria Road at the bridge to the traffic lights at Simpsons Brae. Motorists are advised to take another route for their journey. The leader of Sinn Féin says she's more hopeful now than ever that the UK and EU can reach a deal on the post-Brexit trade agreement. A midnight deadline to re-establish power sharing in Northern Ireland looks likely to be missed because the DUP's continuing opposition to the protocol. It could mean another Assembly election. However, Mary Lou MacDonald is hoping for a Brexit resolution soon. Gardaí are calling for tougher laws to clamp down on people who assault them. It's after new figures show 285 officers were injured after being attacked on duty last year. It's an increase of 17% on the previous year. Damien McCarthy from the Garda Representative Association thinks tougher action is needed. And finally, the HSE is again advising people to top up their immunity ahead of the Kraken variant of COVID-19. becoming the dominant strain of the virus in the country. There are a number of options for those in Donegal to get their vaccines over the next week, with clinics running until Saturday in Letterkenny and a pop-up clinic tomorrow in Stranorlar. More information on that is available on our website at highlandradio.com. That's all for now. We'll have a news update again at 12 noon, but until then, good morning.
Thank you, Emma.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Taking time out to visit a healthcare professional isn't always convenient. That's why at Irish Life Health, we visit you. With My Clinic, our members get virtual access to back and neck physiotherapy, professional counselling, unlimited GP consultations and more. Search Irish Life Health. A better life with Irish Life Health. Services available where covered in your plan and clinically appropriate. Professional counselling available to age 16 plus. Back and neck physio to age 18 plus. Irish Life Health Act is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, Greg, can you explain why we are getting the black mould? Is it because insulation is wet and walls are cold? I presume it's to do with dampness. I don't know. Remike scandal, why are the block makers getting off with this? Another great to see Charlie and Joe and co enjoying an easy ride on Highland Radio, the voice of the Donegal political establishment, pretending to be the voice of the ordinary people. Well, that's an interesting comment. Where is Joe and Charlie hiding? Why have Highland not got them on air? First thing, explaining themselves as to why, once again, they have not fought tooth and nail for the people of Donegal who voted them in to do so. I'm being a little bit facetious here, but just we can't drag them onto the radio. We can invite them onto the radio, which we did. Neither are available today. Charlie's neither available today or tomorrow. Right, okay, let's move on to our next item, although I think this is going to be a fingers crossed job. Ethan Dewhurst. Can you hear me? Ethan? I know, Ethan.
Yes.
Oh, you can. You're frozen there on me, but that's okay. As long as you can hear me, that's the priority. It's Dewhurst, isn't it? Sorry, I beg your pardon. Congratulations, Ethan. A third year at St. Columba's Comprehensive Glentees. You were down at the BTYSC 2023 competition. First place. Well done to you.
Thank you.
Talk to me about your project, Ethan.
Well, my project is a comparative study on the physiochemical characteristics and health warning properties of Donegal heather honey versus Manuka honey. It's all about honey. I had great help doing it from just the school and from
Yeah, that line isn't brilliant. I'll tell you what I might do, Ethan, is we might get you on the telephone, if that's okay. Whilst we are waiting on Ethan to connect again, Ruth McPollen is a maths and science teacher and runs the Young Scientists Club in St. Columba's Comprehensive Glentees. We're going to hear from Ethan a little bit more about his project, but he already lost me about 3 words in, so I look forward to explaining it a little bit more. I mean, this is really quite important stuff here that our young people are looking at, Ruth.
Yeah, good morning, Greg. Yeah, I mean, the Young Scientists here we do it a weekly club, and it all starts basically with the students coming in with sort of any question, curiosity, unanswered in the field of maths and science for themselves, and then they just embark on a project. They enter the Young Scientist, and it's a feat in itself to be accepted. I mean, only about 20% of the students that actually enter get accepted. So we were lucky enough, we had 2 students, Ian Kennedy in the biological ecological section and Ethan Dewhurst in the mathematical, chemical and physical section, entered and were accepted. Keane was basically a lover of dogs and wanted to basically see if it depended on the breed of dog, what microbes grew on the fur, and would that have an impact on vulnerable people? And then Ethan obviously is immersed in honey where he lives. They have lots of hives, and the entire family have a hive each. And they basically wanted to see why we weren't utilising heather honey better in the local area. Everybody seems to go to Manuka, especially for medicinal purposes. So Ethan just embarked on several scientific investigations, again, using facilities in ATU and Killybegs, because we just didn't have the equipment then that was needed to prove basically that heather honey in many cases was better medicinally than Manuka. I mean, this all started because his brother actually is asthmatic and he wanted to have a look. He wanted to go down that route just to basically see what.
But I mean, in terms of being shortlisted to go on and present, the bar is incredibly high, but then the bar to win is incredibly high as well. I mean, we are talking about some of the best young brains that we don't really know. Their options are unlimited almost in what they potentially could go on and achieve in the world of science and in other areas. So to come out on top of the first pile and then the second pile really is a remarkable achievement. This is very technical, scientific stuff here.
Yes. I mean, as I said, it all starts with a very simple idea, but they then are judged several times over. There's a panel of 80 judges, and they're all experts in their field. So you would have doctors and professors of microbiology, etc., interviewing them. I mean, Ethan's only 15 and Ethan is in third year, and by God, I mean, after every interview, the teachers aren't allowed to be there for the judging interviews. We would reflect on it, and I just thought to myself, you know what, he has nailed every question, and it's about being passionate about it as well. I mean, he's immersed in it and loves it. So, like this, I suppose it's all about making memories for the students, and you want to make sure that you're hitting every sort of interesting gift, and that's where we can offer the sport at the Comp and Glenties, we can offer the musical stuff, and then we also want to offer, the science stuff as well, to make sure that everybody gets a fair chance.
All right, Ethan. So good morning again, Ethan. Where did your, and Ruth has been outlining it to some extent, but why did you particularly want to focus on this area yourself?
Well, really, I got into it because my dad was always pushing me to take honey, because it is a superfood. I never thought it was so good for us, and that's really what I was trying to teach people and show that we have a hidden superfood that's not really talked about much. I wanted to tell people that you didn't have to pay so much for high quality.
And how do you go about proving that, Ethan, without being too technical? Because Ruth was telling us of the some of the process that you had to go through in terms of using facilities in Keelybegs and the ATU facilities and what have you. But so what did you try and then perhaps prove through the process?
Well, honey has a lot of amazing properties like antimicrobial, antibacterial, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory. So what I did was I really phoned in on a few of the important ones, being antimicrobial, antibacterial, antioxidants. And what I did was I actually went to ATU in Letterkenny. Because what I did was I was actually allowed into one of their controlled laboratories where I'd done 3 tests, a well diffusion for the antibacterial, broth inhibition for the antimicrobial, and DPP HSA for the antioxidants. It was a huge help. ATU were a really good help. I can't stress that enough. I got in touch with a microbiologist there named Gillian Carney, who really gave me a crash course in microbiology, which is really what the tests fall under, microbiology and chemistry. And so that's really how I got my conclusion, really.
And your conclusion was, just to recap?
Well, I did find Manuka honey to be better.
What is that? What is that honey? Sorry, Manuka honey. What is that?
Oh, okay, sorry. So Manuka honey is it's from the Manuka bush, which is normally grown in a climate like Australia or New Zealand. It's like the self-proclaimed king of honey. It's everywhere, and what I was trying to put up was it's just really advertising what they're doing, and what I came to was there's not really a best honey for everyone. There's more of a best honey for you, and that being local honey.
Yeah, that's quite interesting too. Honey is a superfood, because I don't think there is another food that, if uncontaminated, doesn't spoil. Honey does not spoil perpetually, does it?
It does. It doesn't spoil.
I mean, that's actually remarkable in and of itself.
And that's because of its low moisture content. You can get this thing called pasteurized honey, or adulterated or blended honey even, which is what you find in those with the bottles in the supermarket. And what they've done is they've actually boiled it, and they've turned it into more of a sweet sugary syrup, and they've mixed it with all these contaminants, and it really ruins it.
Probably shouldn't be called honey.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. It really isn't honey, real honey.
So where do you go from here, Ethan, in your career now? I mean, obviously, you're really young, but obviously you're brilliant. You don't get first place in this competition in this area if you're not. So, like, have you always had an interest in science, or is this lit a spark under you, or where do you want to go for other? I mean, listen, I can tell you right now, you'll have no problem getting a job with a honey company. I mean, you're sorted now. But in terms of what you really want to do, Ethan, what's your plan, as much as you can formulate at your age?
Well, you're on about if I had an interest in science beforehand. I like science. I didn't think I'd go into it, but after this whole experience, exploring the world of chemistry and microbiology, it is a definite future career option that I might take. See, the thing really with this is you can go anywhere, and the networking you get from the competition is amazing. Like, you're meeting all these politicians, and you're not just meeting politicians, but you're also meeting other businesses, and they're also sharing their ideas there, and it's like an open day all around Ireland.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, obviously, Ethan, listen, you're incredibly impressive. You have a brilliant way of communicating, and a brilliant way with the language as well as everything else. So well done on that. Ruth, I mean,
thank you.
You know, it's lovely to be a part of this as well. I'd imagine you as a teacher, and we talk about how, you know, music teachers and arts teachers can bring out certain sides of students, and between you and the team here, you know, there's something as lit inside Ethan now that this is potentially where he might go, and who's to say where he may end up. It must be very satisfying obviously it's Ethan doing all the hard work, but it must be very satisfying as a science teacher yourself, just to see you see a blossom there, don't you? And who's to say where it might go? It must be lovely.
Well, you're 100% right there. It is all Ethan's hard work, you know, and it is definitely a team effort. I mean, Ethan will also tell you that without the parents, we couldn't have done it. Without the school, the staff, I mean, the principal, Mr. Mahoney, the vice principal, Miss McNeil, they were so accommodating with cover, with all the texts, you know, congratulations, good luck. You know, it brings a real good feel factor to the school, you know, and again, as I said, it's just one of those other little areas that you want to make sure every child can tap into. It is amazing, I have to say, about the Young Scientists, the doors it opens. I mean, you have companies coming up to you, and you have, like, you know, we had UCD coming up to Ethan at one stage asking him to join in with a
Has that kind of evolved over the years? Because I remember some of my early interviews around this competition, it didn't seem quite, maybe it just didn't seem quite at the level what we're talking now. Like, has this not dragged up, has this sort of improved in terms of the technical nature of it all, the complication of it all, if you know what I mean? Like, or is the competition always sort of delivered these types of projects?
Well, no, I think you will have an array of projects when you get there. I mean, you could have the very simplest idea, and it really is how the student will deal with that and get their solution. Mm-hmm. But I think what probably has improved over the years certainly is its prestige and the people and the companies, etc., that are involved. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had somebody talking to Ethan about possibly using his honey in Africa, It can be used. There is a problem with a fungal asthma there. Self-Aid Africa, we're talking to him. We had someone from the Marie Keating Foundation discussing something about how they use honey sometimes on skin abrasions, and could he possibly donate some and see how they get on? It's just the amount of doors this opens.
Well, listen, I wasn't going to ask Ethan this because I didn't want to sound stupid, but you know what, I sound stupid every day, so I'm going to ask anyway. The honey that you were looking at, give me the name of it again, Ethan.
Manuka honey.
Right, Manuka honey. Now that comes from certain bushes, isn't that what you said?
The Manuka bush, yeah.
Right, but it's obviously then it's the bees have to populate this bush and then go back to their hive, and that's how they produce this honey. Is that how it works, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
So you have these bushes growing around your property, so you have a specific type of honey.
Well, see, the Manuka bush, it wouldn't really flourish in the climate of Ireland. So it's mostly you find that mostly in like the oceanic region of Australia and New Zealand. Now, a very common flower or bush to grow around where I live is the ling bush or the heather and the wildflower, and that's really where heather honey comes from.
Ah, right, okay. Now we're getting there. Okay, I understand now. Brilliant. And come here, what did it feel like having these bigwigs approaching you, Ethan?
Nervous. Nerves were, I mean, it was nerves, and then there was excitement, and they were sort of balancing it out. I mean, it was really, really cool to be talking to the big businesses and the big people. It gives you a bit of experience for if that's what you want to do later on.
All right, finally, Ethan, what do you do to relax? What's your idea of fun when you're not at school or working on honey or whatever you might be doing?
The answer to that would probably be either out with friends, like messing around in the snow, for example, or sports. We're a very active family.
All right, Ethan, well done. You seem to tick all the boxes. All right, well done, Ethan Dewhurst, third year at St. Columba's Comprehensive College, Glenties. Again, Ruth, another example of how bright our future is if we support our young people and give them every opportunity to reach their potential. I mean, the world's their oyster, and let's hope they... we don't lose their talents and their skills because we need them. But it's really positive. The likes of Ethan and others are there. All of the ones really that took part at the what is it? The BTYSC 2023 competition. Yeah. That's right. Okay, listen, well done to you and the rest of the crew for supporting the young people as well. The great work that you do. Thank you so much indeed. It's been lovely having you on the programme.
Thank you, Greg.
Take care of yourself. Thank you so very much indeed.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
This January, staying in is the new going out. At Kelly Centre Mountain Top, we've mega deals in fresh, healthy, ready meals range with great deals in our award-winning off-licence and winning offers in fresh meat and produce. Kelly Centre Mountain Top 2022 winner of the National Forecourt Retailer of the Year.
Factory beef prices set to rocket. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Chinese bonuses, tighter supplies and soaring demand are pushing beef prices skywards. Angry suckler farmers have their say in exit schemes. Farmyard thefts off the Richter scale we investigate. Quilcha and Gresham House tell us about their land purchase tactics. The latest land leasing prices. Plus our special on calving cameras, milk replacers and calf feeders.
And don't miss our CAO and College Guide inside this week's Irish Country Living. You cannot afford to miss it.
In cold weather, why work with a red nose and blue fingers? Heat your garage or shed with a kerosene blow heater from Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny. Call into Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny, where you'll find heaters of all sizes for sale and hire at great value.
The massive January sale is now on at Patterson's Kitchens, the Hall Lifford. Massive savings on kitchens, beds, sofas, dining sets and giftware with up to 50% off selected mattresses. Hundreds of products in stock and ready for delivery or collection. Open Monday to Saturday 9 a.m. till 5:30 p.m. Get yourself down to Patterson's massive January sale.
Achieve your fitness goals this year with the latest arrivals at Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure. New trainers from Asics, Brooks and New Balance, and activewear from Under Armour and Adidas. You'll find everything you need to stay motivated, including the Donegal GAA Peak Range, in store and online with free next day delivery on orders over €85 at Michael Murphy.
Would you like to join the Highland Radio News and Current Affairs team? If you are an experienced or newly qualified journalist, why not apply to join the Highland Radio team in breaking the latest stories across the Northwest and beyond? You can apply by forwarding your CV to hr@highlandradio.com or by post. For more details, check out the job spot section of highlandradio.com.
We've been told that Argos is closing its Irish stores, all of them, which includes the one in Letterkenny. I don't think this affects Northern Ireland, by the way. Disappointing, actually. I always thought Argos, I was not going to keep them in business. Feeling sorry for the staff down there, always very, very helpful. But some stores will close in March following the end of their leases, with the remaining to close by June 24th. There's been no confirmation as to when the Letterkenny store will cease trading, whether it's coming up shortly or that later date. The Mandate Trade Union says it will work with the company to get the best deal for its staff. But Argos in Letterkenny, very soon to be no more. That information just being given to us this morning. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Trina O'Connor is a criminologist and joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Trina.
Good morning. How you doing?
It's great to have you on the programme. Right, now, the Cabinet has signed off on proposed legislation that could see criminals who are convicted of grooming children into a life of crime face up to 5 years in prison if convicted. Now, when I see in my head when I hear that, not only, but would be, say, for instance, maybe people dealing in drugs that don't want to get their hands on the product or the money. They see young people in the area and they throw them a few quid to cycle around on their bikes and do their dirty work for them, with the promise that they'll end up driving a big Land Rover or having a gold chain or what have you. Would that be a typical example of what we're talking about, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. That is one example. So young people can be lured into criminality with the promise of the riches that it brings. And I suppose with a young person, critically, they don't have that thinking piece. They just see, an extravagant lifestyle, the luxurious goods that they can buy, all of the different brand jackets that they can get. I won't mention them. And they also see people who are involved in criminality, who have, vast wealth, and they kind of exploit it throughout their community to intrigue young people to get involved. But there's also the other side, where you might have a young person who has what we call a dual status. So they may be involved in criminal activity themselves, but they may also be a victim of crime. And where, for example, they might have a drug debt, so they're in what we call debt bondage to a dealer, and then they're coerced or groomed into behaving in an antisocial way, for example, maybe drugs-related intimidation to other people who are in debt bondage. And this is almost like a modern day slavery, because for a lot of these young people, they would find it difficult to tell their parents or somebody in the home that they've got caught up in this cycle. For various reasons. For some of them in the areas that I work, it would be because there's already issues in the home. Their parents may be dealing with their own issues, around addiction, or it could be violence, and all of them things make these young people even more vulnerable to these gangs. So it's a very complex thing. There's no one reason. Like some people talk about young people, they just go into crime because they think it's glamorous, but it's not just that.
They're coerced. Yeah. The problem I have with this, though, is that firstly, I presume as part of that recruitment and that coercion, words like grass, rat, snitch are used very, very early on to try and maintain that bond and that loyalty and that brotherhood or that sisterhood. But secondly, with the people likely to be exploiting children like this, and with the sanctions if they're found guilty of grooming for criminal activity, most likely to be the lesser of charges they might face if they were ever caught, I just wonder really, in effect, what this will do. Because these people are filling a vacuum, I think. Often these children might feel there's no hope for them or no pathway out of where they're at. I would love to see that I'd love to see us target them in that area and say, actually, you know what, educate them before they're groomed and say, this is what you can achieve and this is how we'll help you do it. This feels to me like it looks like it's fixing a problem, but I actually suspect it might not. I hope I'm not being pessimistic, Trina. It's just how it feels to me.
Yeah, absolutely, and your point is very valid. But I think all of the different approaches need to happen. I think we need preventative strategies. But I think this legislation, what it could do is it could add on an additional sentence to somebody who's caught for being involved in criminality. So it gives that, you'd be convicted of lots of different sentences. So it could add on that 5 years. Indeed, we may look back.
Although unfortunately, it kind of doesn't work like that, because we saw with the recent announcement of the coercive control legislation that what ended up happening is that people weren't actually convicted of that. They might have been a question for it, but they pled or they were charged with an easier to prove charge, such as a blackmail or something. But anyway, again, I sound like I'm being really negative, but I'm not, Trina.
No, you're not. You're raising very valid points. But I suppose with any new legislation, it takes a bit of time for it to be embedded into law, and it will take a bit of time before we see how we can truly use this legislation. I suppose the preventative side for me is key, because early prevention and an opportunity for young people to have trusted adults, and that's where we need wraparound support for young people who we identify as truly vulnerable. And that's why we see the importance of youth clubs in areas. And I mean, I speak to this about resources, and we look at all this new building that's going on with the homeless crisis, and there is a provision within all of these new estates for childcare facilities to be there up to the age of 12. But what happens to the poor teenagers after 12? Where's the provision for youth clubs? Where's the resourcing for youth clubs? So we're very often on the back foot fighting fires, where really, and you're correct and right, we should be there in the beginning, creating pro-social behaviours and supports for young people if they are in issue anywhere, that they can come and speak to somebody.
Do you think maybe there's a role for the media or general conversation in Ireland, how we discuss criminality? Like, let's just say, for instance, some of the stuff that makes the newspapers or the radio would be, say, gangland stuff. Now, I know this isn't all relation to that, but I don't know if people watch that or read it anymore with shock. I think it's almost like an episode of a TV show, or it's almost for entertainment. I don't think really we delve into the nitty-gritty of what real life is at the very lower levels, and most of the levels right from the top, for if you get involved in criminality. I think there's almost like a polished Hollywood view to it. I think we need to start talking about the real tragedy of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the media have to report crime, because people are interested in crime. And as a criminologist, I can tell you everybody's interested in crime, and everybody's an amateur detective, So people really want to know about crime because it impacts everybody. Everybody's impacted by crime. But the way that we report media, I think some of the language that we use needs to be looked at, so that we're not glamorizing. And I definitely agree with you. But I think there's a lot more people looking at exactly the lived experience of people. And I think through social media, and I know it gets a bad rap, but actually through social media, we're seeing young people being able to tell their stories. Yeah. And if you look at some of the stuff around domestic violence, for example, and coercive control, we had people, just ordinary people who were experiencing domestic violence, coming out on social media. And then from there, that conversation around coercive control happened.
And local communities able to maybe to speak more openly in an organised way, not in our backyard, through a Twitter or Facebook group as well, which I presume that can help.
Yeah, there's positives and there's negatives, and obviously we don't get everything right, and the media don't get everything right, but I do think that the conversations are out there, and the use of social media in this way can be very positive, because it allows people to tell their story. They don't need to have a platform, because if they don't have a platform within the media, well then how are they going to elevate their story? But they can go on Facebook, or they can go on Instagram, and that then can grow legs, and conversations can come out of that too.
So it's a step in the right direction. It's part of what needs to be an overall plan, and it might take a while to bed in, but overall it could be positive. Would that be our synopsis?
Well, that would be my summation of it all. I think anything that just a little thing that I think is important whenever we bring in tough on crime laws, particularly when it's to do with young people, we need to make sure that the welfare of the children is at the heart of the legislation. And I suppose in this situation, we have to remember that sometimes young people are groomed within their family. And if on conviction, if the conviction is hanging on the word of a child, we need to make sure that we're not exploiting the child further by putting them in a situation. Because if we're asking them to turn their back on their family without the proper support, and if for some children that's what they would have to do to get out of this cycle, that's why it's very difficult for them when it's family and generational criminality. So all of them welfare need to be looked at. So it shouldn't be just a policing issue. We should have multidisciplinary teams that include the likes of victim support, Bernardo's, CAMS, all of them people around the table, criminologists like myself, and psychologists, so we can talk about actually how this impacts the child and not further exploit or traumatise the child.
Could you see this maybe some way having a positive impact in breaking a cycle? Do you know, say for instance, there's parents involved in criminality and their children following them into that life. Do you know what I mean? It can be multi-generational. I wonder, could this be used to sort of maybe address that as well? Because that's everyone. I mean, sometimes it's nature and nurture, isn't it? You know, and it'd be nice if this gave some young ones some hope of not going down a certain path.
Yeah, I definitely think it will. I think for young people who, like, because I work with a lot of young people who would have, a name that would be attached to criminality, but they're not necessarily attached to criminality. And I think for them, this would give them some hope that, if within their family people are convicted of grooming and that, then it kind of gives them a pathway out of criminality. So I definitely see it as a positive step for young people like that. So yeah, absolutely. I just think it's always positive when we put the welfare of the child at the heart of legislation, particularly when it comes to grooming and exploitation, because child criminal grooming and child sexual exploitation are two things that we're seeing more and more across the world. It's horrendous.
And I think for most people, it's unimaginable how anyone could do that to a child, but then I don't know. Trina, just before I let you go, more broadly, your role as a criminologist, what do you do, or I presume there's certain areas within it that people focus on? What's your...
So my background is psychology. That's my first expertise, and then I'm specified into criminology. And a lot of the work I do is looking at other systems, because I've looked at criminal justice systems around the world, and I've also looked at the actual ology of crime, so the psychology of crime. So I work for lots of different people, and then I also work in a deprived area, and I work with young people who are given a second chance. So we use some restorative processes, and very often it's about stopping the othering of young people. It's about creating initiatives that will allow young people to take responsibility for their crime, but also create a pathway back to pro-social behaviour. So that would be a lot of work that I would do. I work with lots of different agencies. Obviously, I can't talk about a lot of the work that I do because a lot of it is confidential, but I apply psychology to the prevention of crime in a lot of ways.
Lovely. Okay. Thanks very much, Trina. We really appreciate your time this morning and your insight as well. Thanks so much. Have a lovely day.
And you. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you so very much indeed. Trina O'Connor there, criminologist, just reacting to that new legislation? Yeah, it is new legislation, and the bill is designed to prevent criminal networks from exploiting young people to commit offences, and it aims to break the link there between gangs and vulnerable youths.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
If your New Year's resolutions are already struggling, consider taking a leaf out of the GAA fans' Book of Unwavering Commitment. Keep your goals 6.5 metres wide. Commit to shouting at the top of your lungs as often as possible, and focus on counting points instead of calories. The new season is just getting going. Don't miss a moment with a GAA season ticket. Available now on gaa.ie/season ticket. Are you in? The GAA, where we all belong.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be joined by Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce CEO Tony Forrester and founder of Pumpskins, Catherine Devine. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters, in association with ATU Donegal's Faculty of Business. If you're an owner or manager in a food production business, consider the new 1-year Level 8 Higher Diploma in Food Business and Product Innovation. It's just one 3-hour lecture weekly. Call 9186600 or email gary.mcgill@atu.ie.
SuperValue makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love, like SuperValue Express Basmati Rice 250 gram, 65 cent. SuperValue Fragrance Baby Wipe 64 piece, 95 cent. 2. Get thousands of special offers. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. SuperValue makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Bill, ní onan gach léirú I níos móna chuige anmh timp na héireann mar na muoinú I go gcóir le Alain. Téigh léirú Bill de Campersa. Chuir de hic the náirí, inniu. Tá Hashclip live is muoinethe I go gcóir le Alain.
The Clanry Hotel presents Nathan Carter in concert this Friday 20th. Doors open at 7, show starts at 8 p.m. Tickets are €30 each and available from the hotel reception. That's Nathan Carter in concert this Friday night at the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme, and we're joined on it now by James Cudahy, founder and managing director of Welditz Engineering in Carndonagh, and Maureen Cudahy as well, director of Welditz Engineering also in Carndonagh. Good morning, both of you. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Good morning. Yes, we can.
Good morning, Greg and listeners.
And Cudahy's the correct pronunciation, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a Kilkenny name, actually.
Well, we'll forgive you for that because you're bringing great enterprise and business to Carndonagh. It's a lovely name. Right, okay, tell us a little bit about the company, James. I might ask you to talk to us a little bit about Welditz and its history.
Yeah, its history started with my father. My father was a metalwork teacher at the local school, but he always used to do a bit on the side, and he would have a couple of people employed here making stuff in the private sector, gates and balustrades, and doing a lot of agricultural repairs. Back in the mid-80s, when I finished with college, my father said, there's nothing for you here in Ireland. You will have to go somewhere. And so, like everybody else around here, I emigrated I went to London, and I went into the engineering sector. I started an engineering business there, and I worked there for about 8 years, doing that. Running a business, but I had ill health and I came back here and I started Welditz Limited, and it's been sort of slowly growing away all the time.
Yeah, it's really scaled. Can you work on bigger stuff that other companies maybe don't work on?
We do work on stuff that other companies, everybody gets into their sector. I can tell you what I do work on and what I don't. We do a lot of work on the pharma, medical and robotics. We do a lot of work for other engineering companies. We laser cut out components and fold, we do a lot of subcontract. Sometimes we're working on stuff that I don't know what it is, nor do I care.
Are you to some extent problem solvers as well then?
Yeah, we do. Some of our customers require engineering solutions, drafting and design and help and suggestions. Not all of them, but some of them, we provide that as well.
Right, Maureen. The latest work is a contract with a Spanish company of all things, to design and manufacture road toll booths. Right. Yes. So talk to me about how what the importance of that and what work it involves.
So actually how this came about is from a recommendation from another Irish company that we were working with. And this Spanish company was pitching to them, and they said, you should really include these people in your pitch. And they were reluctant to work with us because they didn't know anything about us. They had a Spanish and a French company that they used. And we chipped away at it and persuaded them, look, give us a chance. And we chatted on, we showed them our design capabilities. They came to visit quite a few times to see if we were the right people. And then finally, they awarded us not only the first contract, but we're now in a position where we're starting to export to Mexico. So we're quite excited about that. We're going to Mexico at the end of the month.
I mean, it really is impressive that this company in the northwest of Ireland is doing this work in Spain and in Mexico, because presumably there's an awful lot of options, you'd imagine, closer to where these will eventually be installed. So they obviously saw something very special about Weldits that they signed up to these contracts.
Well, what they said to us, beyond our design capability, which they loved, they thought we were brilliant at jumping in and being very enthusiastic to help solve some of the problems that they weren't getting from their Spanish company, that they really wanted it from. They said they just wouldn't flex, but we were flexing and trying to understand. And they said that flexibility, that obsession with solving a problem more than just thinking about the money of it, but just, can we help you solve your problem? Really helped.
Are these manufactured to the finished product here and then shipped, or are the components created and then shipped and assembled on site?
No. Do you want to do that one?
Yeah. We design and manufacture the machine here. We get help from the Spanish company. They design the software and the components to go in. We manufacture the cabinets and we fit the components and fit the wiring, and so they are ready for shipping.
Wow. All right. And James, are you at this point, because you don't know where this might go, are you able to do this within your current capacity, or have you had to expand, or what does the future hold, do you think?
No, we're having to expand. We're having to expand anyway, but that's a problem here. Up here in Donegal, you can buy a new laser, or you can buy any machine to do anything, but you cannot buy labour, And we are short of skilled welder fabricators here. I mean, you've got quite a few engineering companies. You've got Inishon Engineering, which are up near Buncrana, and you've got E&I in Warrenfoot, and E&I are up in Letterkenny. There isn't enough skill set to meet the demand.
Well, maybe there are relations listening of people that maybe they're abroad at the moment and looking to come home, or maybe they're watching our live stream on Facebook or YouTube, but they might see a clip later. There's an opportunity here, if you have the right skill set in this area, to come home and get a good job, I think. Yes, James?
Yeah, I know that the ETB are doing their best to set up the fabrication course here in Donegal. At the moment, if you're an apprentice fabricator, you have to travel the length and breadth of Ireland as far as Cork. But we're hoping now in the near future that we're going to have that facility here up in Donegal, to meet the demand.
And finally, Maureen, it's great to see, this type of manufacturing happening. The fact that it's happening in Carn on the Inishowen Peninsula as well. It's nice to see an expansion and a growth in that area, and perhaps even addressing something of an imbalance there.
Yes, the obvious gender imbalance. Yeah. Well, I suppose my father he taught mathematics. And naturally, all of us did maths. I did applied physics and electronics at university. I'm not practicing like that. I'm actually doing a finance role here and a marketing role in the business. But I think it has been beneficial. We have a few women on the team. We've got Barbara, we've Elise, we've Mairead, and it does help to move things forward. It's not just a very masculine orientated business. It's a blended balance, and we have many nationalities with us as well. We've taken on 2 Ukrainian people, and it's really successful for us.
Well done. I mean, it's exciting times, and success creates problems. But sure, that comes with success. You're gonna have to figure out these recruitment problems.
It's nice to have these sort of problems than having the opposite problems that so many people are having. So we're feeling optimistic about the future. And we're looking for people to contact us if they're interested in joining, both designers and fabricators at this stage. And who knows how the world will be. I mean, if you think of all the big multinationals that are out there, most of them started in a garage. If you think of Hewlett Packard and all of those, and who knows who knows where we might come or not come, but we'll give it a go anyways.
And James, I'm not sure if your father's still with us or not, but as the founder of all of this, what does he say, or what would he say looking down at what you're at now and how you have grown and expanded and where the company's heading?
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be very proud, and he'd be, he'd like to be part of it. One of the good things, anyway, is it seems that Carndonna is in the process of turning around a bit. Back in the 80s when he said, "I doubt you'll have to emigrate," there's nothing. But what I can say now is there was a survey done back in the Western Development Commission done a survey back in 2018, and the conclusion from that was that Carndonna was the second lowest number of manufacturing jobs in this area, and out of 35 towns. So I hope that we can contribute to change in that.
In the most obvious way, you were given the advice which your dad thought was best for you to emigrate because there was nothing for you here. Now you're back and you're looking, I'm sure you'd welcome people emigrating back to Carndonna to work. It's a turnaround, a significant turnaround for the region, I think.
Yeah, we have 4 diaspora here in the staff, returned from
well done. Brilliant. Great. Keep it up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't think I'll be buying a toll booth off you anytime soon, but sure, look, if you want to knock me up a set of gates or something, I'd take.
No.
You're finished with the gates?
No, we're finished with all private sector.
I know. I'm money messing. Well, congratulations. It's a lovely story. And you're clearly lovely people as well. Continued success into the future, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, that is James Cudahy, founder and managing director of Welditz Engineering, Carndonna. Maureen Cudahy, director of Welditz as well. One of the few female directors of an engineering company worth noting as well. And it's just, I think it's a nice story from the dad saying, you're going to have to go away to get work. To him back now saying, come home, I've got work for you. Right, okay, great stuff.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off all tiles. Wood flooring, bathware, cladding, everything's reduced. Tiles from only $8.99 per square yard and wood flooring from only $11.99 per square yard. Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price January sale is now on.
Stylish nights and memorable delights await at radsligo.com with our fantastic January sale. Escape it all with 25% off B&B stays and enjoy a well-deserved breakaway. Indulge in afternoon tea overlooking Sligo Bay, relax with a treatment at the spa, enjoy a delicious meal in the Brasserie and Waves Bar, or surround yourself with the best of Sligo's outdoor pursuits right on your doorstep. 25% off sale ends 31st of January. Book now at radsligo.com.
At Ulster Bank, our team is continuing to close current and deposit accounts, along with some of our branches. At this time, if your notice period and your deadline has passed, your account is now queued for closure. All personal and business account deadlines are fast approaching. You must take urgent action. If you are still relying on your bank account and in need of more support, please contact us immediately. Visit ulsterbank.ie, your local branch, or call 0818 210 260. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Is this it? Is this our life? Up early to beat the traffic, in the van, same voices on the radio, same tunes. The Irish Naval Service will take you somewhere else. It'll take you to the edge, to deep water, in any weather, to challenge yourself, to learn the life skills any employer will look for when you move on. And the good news? The Irish Naval Service is recruiting right now. Visit military.ie and be more in the Irish Defence Forces.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okie doke. Now, the showers will clear to leave mostly dry weather. for the rest of today with sunny spells, although some mist or fog may linger locally with little or no wind. Cold, 1 to 4 degrees. Hopefully some sign of a thaw tomorrow. We heard from a listener earlier on, can you believe this? They were going to do their theory test in Letterkenny and they wanted to cancel it because it was too dangerous to leave the house. But they were told that if they don't come in and sit their theory test, this is the Road Safety Authority. They were told that if they don't sit their theory test, that they will lose their money. What a way to start your driving career. Brian, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Right, I'm okay. The RSA also run the NCT. What was your experience with that outfit?
Well, I had a vehicle in just before Christmas, and I had to go back, get a couple of things done, and go back yesterday. And I couldn't get back yesterday because of the weather. I have a small, light commercial back-wheel drive, which
you wouldn't take
without it be like in the snow, just a sleigh. So I've been trying. I mean, in fairness, the garage have been so helpful trying to get it sorted, but the message back from the RSA was that unless Met Éireann issue a red alert weather warning, there's no excuse to not be there.
Are you coming towards the end of the retest? Are you coming towards the end of the retest period?
I'll have to go and get a full retest after today, yeah.
Okay, that's stupid.
And I thought this test was about road safety, and it would be very irresponsible to take this vehicle on this road today. There's just be like a set of skis,
Did you get to speak to a human?
No, I've been dealing with the garage, and they have been dealing with the RSA down the country, but they said they won't move. There's just no movement.
Right. Very, very frustrating. It makes no sense.
Sorry?
It's very frustrating. It makes no sense, Brian.
Well, I had to pay for a full test, and I had a full test I think it was Christmas week or just before Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was impossible to get a mechanics over Christmas or New Year, and that's why it has come so close to the deadline. But I just find it a bit strange if this is about road safety, but I'm just beginning to wonder, is it about road safety or is it about money?
Money. Brian, and another thing too, there can be long waiting lists to get another NCT, so your car might be, or your light van, it might be months before it's actually tested now.
Yeah, but the strange part about it, when the COVID was at its worst, we could drive as long as we wanted without a test. I mean, I was driving a year without a test because they wouldn't take the vehicles in during COVID. And there seemed to be no danger then, but I'm not allowed 2 days over. It just seems a bit strange. I thought I would just highlight that.
It's very strange. We are on to the RSA to find out. I would like someone from the Road Safety Authority to explain both of these cases today, because they would struggle to make sense of it. Thanks very much, Brian. Leave it with us.
Okay, no problem.
We'll try and get you another appointment or a refund or something. And also, the other situation, the person going to sit their theory, they can't get out of there. They can't get in there, but because it's not a red alert, they say that you're losing your money, you're losing your spot. Greg, brilliant. Congratulations and well done to Ethan and the college. Where is their Heather honey sold? I certainly would buy it. Thank you. I didn't ask where it would be sold, but listen, we'll get on to Ethan and see if there's. I'm not sure if they're producing it on that level or not. But hey, it's brilliant stuff. What's going on, isn't it? Good morning, Greg. Perhaps you could help expedite getting me a bulk gas delivery to my house. I'm 70 years of age. I ordered a gas delivery on the 3rd of January, and when I called on Monday to find out why I had no delivery, I was told that I had not even been scheduled. I've been out of gas now since this Monday and have no heating or hot water. I'm living in an isolated area. I emailed a complaint to both customer services and to the managing director on Tuesday morning without any response. Flow Gas, so did we get onto them, Caroline? Are we going to check that we have got onto them? All right, we're on your behalf, okay? We'll see. Come on, Flow Gas. There's a lady there, 70 years of age, no heat, no hot water. Look at the weather. Let's help sort it out. Only ever had the TV on as I hadn't wallpapered in that room. Well done. TV is so passé, Greg. When we want to watch something, we do it in our own time and not be inanely bombarded with tired advertising designed to make us consume. If we look at the current cost of living crisis, it should give us an insight into whether or not consumerism is still working, or should take a closer look at the way they function in the creative industries and what has gone wrong. Really? Okay, you really thought that through. Thank you very much indeed for it. Dublin versus Micah scheme. Dublin wins as it's cheaper per vote. Plus Donegal has found out a long time ago that voting Fine Gael Fianna Fáil is meaningless. To forgotten Donegal, it's discrimination. Greg, it's numbers. Voting next year, Donegal doesn't matter. We're working people playing games, smarty pants people. Our minister is working so hard for us that he can't take 5 minutes to talk to Highland Radio. Hope we remember this disdain for us when voting day comes. It's not just today, by the way, it's tomorrow. So it would be Monday then. Well, I'll wait till Monday. I'll wait till Monday after questions, and I think people deserve an explanation. It's not a witch hunt or a gotcha. It's people have very genuine questions. They want an explanation as to why we aren't important here compared to our Dublin friends. Yesterday's government's announcements regards 100% cover for corrective safety building work for flats down the country provides full proof of the double standards from these people in power. Disgraceful. I totally agree with you on the cost of running RTE. There was a time it was a vital service to this country, but not anymore. News, documentaries, dramas, chat shows are so much more and widely available from many forms these days, and I see no justification for paying anyone over 100,000 a year. You see, the thing is right, as I say, I'm not speaking on behalf of Highland Radio for a second. I'm speaking as me, as an individual radio listener. Like, let's say they start a new breakfast show. They'll go, right, we're going to do a 10 grand competition to give that breakfast show a plug. That's a breakfast show that will be competing with every breakfast show in the entire country. This is just on radio. And they'll go, right, we're going to put 10,000. We're going to put 10,000 into a competition for this breakfast show to give it a good start. How many 180s or whatever it is now, the TV, how many 180s does it make just to take around Letterkenny, Buncrana, Dunlow, Donegal Town, just to make up the prize fund because they want to plug a show? I think I can't believe people tolerate it at all. And look through the programming list today on the TV. It's all shows you can watch on Freeview. All right, anyway, I'm off. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. We have our Friday panel. We've got That's Entertainment and so much more besides. Thanks to Caroline Orr, who researched and produced the show. John Breslin's coming up around the northwest next. Have a lovely Thursday. Stay safe. Hopefully this is the last day of the really bad conditions out there.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny.